A distinguished professor at Harvard has ignited significant controversy with a recently published paper that challenges the conventional understanding of celestial bodies, proposing that the interstellar object designated 3I Atlas might not be a natural phenomenon, but rather a product of advanced artificial technology. This groundbreaking research has sent ripples through the astronomical community, causing a palpable division. Dr. Avi Loeb's latest work presents a meticulous mathematical analysis suggesting that the characteristics displayed by 3I Atlas deviate considerably from what is expected of naturally occurring interstellar objects, thereby raising profound questions that many scientists have been hesitant to voice publicly. The detailed trajectory analysis of the object has unveiled truly unsettling statistical anomalies. The probability of 3I Atlas approaching Venus, Mars, and Jupiter by mere chance is a mere 0.005%. When this is combined with its retrograde motion, occurring within 5 degrees of our ecliptic plane, the mathematical likelihood of its natural formation plummets to levels that frankly make statisticians profoundly uncomfortable. Compounding this mystery is the peculiar timing of its arrival. The research indicates that 3I Atlas entered our solar system approximately 8,000 years ago, coinciding precisely with the period when human civilization was transitioning from prehistoric to historic eras, a time marked by the development of writing, agriculture, and permanent settlements. While this correlation could indeed be purely coincidental, it also ignites the possibility of a carefully orchestrated surveillance timeline spanning millennia. Further fueling the enigma, NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has detected distinct chemical signatures that defy categorization within any known natural processes. The ratio of carbon dioxide to water observed is 8:1, representing the highest proportion ever recorded in a comet. This figure stands at 6 standard deviations above typical values, strongly suggesting formation under conditions entirely alien to contemporary stellar environments. However, what truly appears to be driving the scientific establishment to increasingly desperate measures, including attempts to discredit anyone raising these questions, is the object's imminent transit. In less than 70 days, 3I Atlas is set to pass behind our Sun, rendering it completely undetectable from Earth-based observation for a 6-week period. This interval, referred to by orbital mechanics experts as the optimal window, presents a prime opportunity for what could be a solar Earth maneuver, a gravitational assist that could entirely alter its trajectory while remaining completely imperceptible to our terrestrial monitoring systems. The institutional reaction underscores the astronomical community's apparent unpreparedness for discoveries that fundamentally challenge deeply ingrained assumptions about our cosmic solitude. Instead of objectively investigating these anomalies, many established astronomers are resorting to personal attacks against researchers who dare to suggest that 3I Atlas might represent something entirely unprecedented in human history. Tonight, we will delve into the compelling evidence that is precipitating this scientific crisis. We will explore why the mathematical probabilities presented demand serious scientific scrutiny, irrespective of how unsettling the implications might be. Furthermore, we will investigate what the reemergence of 3I Atlas from behind the Sun in December might reveal about humanity's place in a universe that could be far more extraordinary and potentially perilous than our optimistic assumptions about cosmic companionship and interstellar exploration would suggest. Before we commence, please consider liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and hitting the notification bell if you genuinely enjoy science content for relaxation or sleep. Kindly share where you are listening from and the current time in your location. Additionally, for my most dedicated early supporters, I am offering lifetime ad-free access to my entire Science for Sleep library. This includes all past and upcoming 2-hour episodes in MP3 format, yours to keep forever for a one-time payment of just $19.99. This special thank you offer is time-limited, so secure yours now via the link provided in the description. Avi Loeb's formidable reputation at Harvard was not built on flights of fancy. He is a former chair of Harvard's esteemed astronomy department, the founding director of the Black Hole Initiative, and a scientist with an impressive publication record of over 800 peer-reviewed papers. When an individual of his stature ventures to risk everything on a theory as explosive as this, the scientific world cannot help but pay attention, even if they are deeply disturbed by his propositions. Loeb's paper, co-authored with researchers from the Initiative for Interstellar Studies, goes beyond merely suggesting that 3I Atlas could be artificial. It specifically invokes the dark forest hypothesis, a proposed solution to the Fermi paradox that posits the universe is teeming with advanced civilizations, all of whom remain concealed to avoid preemptive destruction. In this chilling scenario, any civilization that reveals its existence or dispatches probes becomes an immediate target for annihilation. This theory, originally conceived within Liu Cixin's science fiction trilogy, possesses a chillingly sound scientific logic. Given finite resources and unknown intentions, the most prudent survival strategy for any advanced civilization would be to eliminate potential threats before they materialize. Earth, by contrast, has been actively broadcasting radio signals into space for over a century and has even dispatched golden records on Voyager spacecraft, explicitly announcing our presence to any potential interceptors. According to the dark forest hypothesis, these actions might have inadvertently signaled our existence as a potential threat, essentially ringing the dinner bell for our own demise. Based on its current velocity, 3I Atlas entered the outer periphery of our solar system approximately 8,000 years ago. During that epoch, human civilization was only just beginning to establish historical records, developing rudimentary writing systems, and constructing the initial urban centers. This precise temporal alignment feels less like a random coincidence and more akin to a deliberate act of surveillance, as if an observer has been monitoring our technological advancement and decided to investigate more closely as we approach the capacity for interstellar travel. Loeb's analysis meticulously focuses on what he terms the object's anomalous characteristics, features that distinguish it sharply from typical comets or asteroids. Firstly, its sheer size. Initial estimations placed its diameter approaching 20 kilometers, potentially making it the largest interstellar object ever detected. Objects of this magnitude should be exceedingly rare in the vastness of interstellar space, with millions of smaller objects expected for every single one of this size. Yet, 3I Atlas stands virtually alone in this size category among confirmed interstellar visitors. Secondly, its distinctive brightness pattern suggests an unusual composition. Unlike conventional comets, which become visible primarily through sunlight reflected off surrounding dust clouds, 3I Atlas appears to reflect light directly from its own body, implying either an exceptionally reflective surface or a compact structure that defies standard cometary models. Thirdly, and most crucially for Loeb's hypothesis, 3I Atlas began exhibiting cometary activity, including the emission of gas and dust, at a distance of approximately 4.4 astronomical units from the Sun. Most comets do not become active until they are significantly closer, often within Jupiter's orbit. This remarkably early activation could indicate either an unusual ice composition or, as Loeb speculates, the deliberate venting of gases to meticulously maintain the guise of a natural comet. The spectroscopic evidence gathered by NASA's James Webb Space Telescope further deepens the mystery. The telescope identified an unprecedented carbon dioxide to water ratio in 3I Atlas's coma, an astonishing 8:1. This extreme ratio, the highest ever documented in any comet, strongly suggests formation under conditions vastly different from anything found within our solar system, potentially pointing to an origin from a stellar environment with radically dissimilar chemical composition. From a pure surveillance perspective, 3I Atlas's trajectory offers remarkable strategic advantages for an intelligence-gathering mission. Its path will bring it in relatively close proximity to three major planets, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, potentially facilitating the deployment of smaller reconnaissance drones or enabling detailed gravitational analysis of these worlds. More significantly, its closest approach to the Sun will occur when Earth is positioned on the opposite side of our star, meaning the object will be entirely obscured from ground-based telescopes for several critical weeks. Loeb argues that this period of invisibility represents a perfect opportunity for what spacecraft engineers refer to as a solar Earth maneuver. This technique leverages the Sun's immense gravity to alter velocity and trajectory with minimal energy expenditure. If 3I Atlas were to decelerate during this hidden period, it could potentially transition into a bound solar orbit, thereby setting the stage for a later, intentional approach to Earth. The most opportune moment for such a maneuver precisely aligns with the object's current invisibility to our sophisticated detection systems. The scientific community's reaction to Loeb's paper has been swift and overwhelmingly critical. Chris Lintott, an astronomer at Oxford University who contributed to simulations of 3I Atlas's galactic origins, derided Loeb's suggestions as nonsense on stilts and an insult to the exciting work going on to understand this object. NASA's Tom Statler offered a more diplomatic, yet equally dismissive, assessment, stating that 3I Atlas looks like a comet, acts like a comet, and very strongly resembles the comets that we know. Nevertheless, Loeb's proponents highlight that his paper is not based on mere conjecture. It meticulously incorporates detailed orbital mechanics calculations, sophisticated probability analyses, and specific, testable predictions. Should 3I Atlas persist on its current trajectory without any deviations, behaving precisely like previously observed interstellar comets, then the hypothesis of artificial origin would be effectively refuted. However, if any anomalous accelerations or trajectory adjustments are detected, particularly during its period of concealment behind the Sun, the nature of the debate could shift dramatically. The critical timing of these observations adds significant pressure to the astronomical community. 3I Atlas is slated to reach its closest proximity to the Sun on October 30th, effectively vanishing behind the Sun's glare from Earth's vantage point. It is not expected to re-emerge until early December, affording astronomers a very narrow window to detect any evidence of artificial behavior. During this period of invisibility, several space-based missions are scheduled to attempt continuous observation. The European Space Agency's Mars Express and ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter will observe the comet during its closest approach to Mars in early October. The Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, currently en route to the outer solar system, may possess the most advantageous positioning and instruments to detect any unusual activity during 3I Atlas's perihelion passage. The implications of Loeb's hypothesis extend far beyond the realm of pure astronomy. If validated, the discovery of an artificial interstellar object would constitute the first concrete evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence, fundamentally reshaping humanity's perception of its place within the cosmos. More disturbingly, if 3I Atlas indeed represents a reconnaissance mission from a civilization operating under the principles of the dark forest hypothesis, its presence could signal the imminent end of our prolonged period of cosmic obscurity. The paper explicitly warns that the consequences, should the hypothesis prove correct, could be dire for humanity, potentially necessitating defensive measures that might ultimately prove futile. This is no longer simply an academic exercise. It is a compelling call for planetary defense planning against potentially superior technological adversaries. Current human space defense capabilities are primarily engineered to counter asteroids and natural cosmic phenomena, not artificial objects with unknown capabilities and potentially hostile intentions. Our most advanced spacecraft operate at speeds measured in tens of kilometers per second. 3I Atlas, however, travels at over 60 kilometers per second, exceeding the velocity of anything humanity has ever constructed. Even our detection systems were not initially designed for such a scenario. The Atlas survey that discovered 3I Atlas was developed to track potentially hazardous asteroids, not to identify artificial objects artfully disguised as natural celestial bodies. If hostile civilizations are indeed employing stealth technology to approach Earth, our existing monitoring networks might very well be overlooking dozens of similar objects. The dark forest theory gains significant credibility when we consider the broader context of interstellar object detection. 3I Atlas represents only the third confirmed visitor from beyond our solar system, following in the wake of Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. Each of these celestial bodies has exhibited characteristics that challenge our conventional understanding of natural celestial mechanics. Oumuamua's elongated, cigar-like shape and its unexplained acceleration as it departed our solar system ignited similar speculation regarding artificial origins. Loeb himself has previously published research suggesting that Oumuamua could have been a light sail, a thin, artificial structure engineered to harness stellar radiation for propulsion. The broader scientific establishment largely dismissed this interpretation, favoring explanations involving outgassing from previously undetected subsurface ice deposits. Now, with the arrival of 3I Atlas, we are witnessing a repeating pattern, another interstellar visitor exhibiting anomalous properties, another trajectory that appears almost too convenient to be random, and another opportunity for the scientific community to confront the unsettling possibility that we are not alone in the galaxy. The statistical argument becomes even more persuasive when we consider the general rarity of interstellar objects. Based on our current detection capabilities and observational time, astronomers estimate that large interstellar objects should pass through our solar system perhaps once every few decades. Yet, we have now detected 3 such objects in less than 8 years, all during a period when human space technology has advanced to a point where it could potentially be perceived as an interstellar threat. This clustering could be attributed to natural statistical variations, or it could indicate an escalation of surveillance as Earth's technological capabilities approach critical thresholds. Our first spacecraft successfully traversed the heliopause and entered interstellar space in 2012 with Voyager 1. Our most advanced propulsion concepts theoretically possess the capability to reach nearby star systems within a century or two. From an external vantage point, humanity might appear to be on the cusp of becoming a spacefaring, potentially threatening civilization. Loeb's paper raises uncomfortable questions regarding the fundamental assumptions underpinning current efforts to search for extraterrestrial intelligence. For decades, SETI initiatives have been diligently listening for radio signals emanating from distant civilizations, operating under the premise that advanced species would inherently desire communication. The dark forest hypothesis, however, proposes the exact opposite, that successful civilizations achieve longevity precisely by remaining silent and proactively eliminating potential threats before they can fully develop. If this interpretation holds true, then our century of broadcasting radio signals, our deliberate attempts to announce our presence through projects like the Arecibo interstellar message, and our plans for even more powerful communication arrays might represent profound existential missteps. We may have been inadvertently shouting our location into a cosmic arena populated by hidden predators. The timing of 3I Atlas's approach, with its perihelion occurring just as global tensions on Earth are escalating, adds another disquieting dimension to Loeb's analysis. A reconnaissance mission would naturally seek to assess not only our technological capabilities, but also our social stability, our propensity for developing unified space-based defenses, and our potential for internal conflicts that might hinder outward expansion. Current geopolitical conditions paint a picture of a species teetering on the brink of either remarkable progress or catastrophic collapse, precisely the kind of transitional period when external monitoring might intensify. Space agencies globally are actively developing independent lunar bases, formulating plans for Mars colonization, and exploring asteroid mining capabilities. Within mere decades, human presence in space could become self-sustaining and, consequently, potentially perceived as a threat by other civilizations. The emergence of 3I Atlas from behind the Sun in December will serve as the inaugural critical test of Loeb's hypothesis. If the object continues on its predicted trajectory without any observable deviation, the theory of artificial intelligence will lose significant credibility. However, should any anomalous behavior be detected, if trajectory adjustments occur that cannot be attributed to natural gravitational forces, the scientific community will confront an unprecedented crisis. Ground-based telescopes worldwide are already preparing for this crucial observational period. The European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope, the Keck Observatory in Hawaii, and extensive radio telescope arrays spanning multiple continents will intently focus on 3I Atlas the moment it becomes visible once more. Any departure from its predicted behavior will be detected within hours and meticulously analyzed by teams of experts searching for definitive signs of artificial propulsion or deliberate course correction. The psychological ramifications of such a confirmation would be profound. Humanity has never before encountered verified evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence, let alone intelligence that might be perceived as hostile. The ensuing social, religious, and political upheaval could be catastrophic, particularly if the evidence suggests we are being evaluated as a threat to be neutralized rather than welcomed as fellow inhabitants of the cosmos. Military strategists are already quietly engaging in discussions about scenarios that were considered pure science fiction merely months ago. How does one defend against technology capable of traversing interstellar distances? How does one negotiate with entities whose initial contact consists of reconnaissance rather than overt communication? How does one prepare civilian populations for the stark possibility that we do not hold the apex position of intelligence in our local galactic region? Chapter 2. The December Test, Hidden Maneuvers. The clock is relentlessly ticking down towards what could be the most pivotal astronomical observation in human history. On October 30th, 3I Atlas will vanish behind our Sun, disappearing from the view of every ground-based telescope on Earth for approximately 6 weeks. When it finally reemerges in early December, we will discover whether Avi Loeb's deeply unsettling hypothesis concerning alien reconnaissance holds any basis in reality. This situation transcends mere academic debate. Space agencies across 3 continents are discreetly repositioning vital assets, reprogramming observation schedules, and preparing for what could be the first definitive detection of extraterrestrial technology. The European Space Agency has already announced that both Mars Express and the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter will attempt continuous monitoring during 3I Atlas's closest approach to Mars on October 3rd, maintaining their observations even as the object becomes invisible to terrestrial instruments. The physics governing events during this hidden period are genuinely alarming from a defensive standpoint. As 3i Atlas swings behind the Sun, it will be traveling at speeds exceeding 150,000 miles per hour, possessing immense kinetic energy that could be precisely redirected using gravitational mechanics that human engineers are only beginning to comprehend. The solar Earth maneuver described by Loeb is not a figment of science fiction. It is a well-established principle of orbital mechanics utilized by NASA missions to achieve velocity changes that would be impossible using onboard fuel alone. A spacecraft approaching the Sun accumulates tremendous speed, and precise engine activation at the point of closest approach can generate velocity modifications far exceeding what the same fuel expenditure would achieve in the vast emptiness of deep space. For a natural comet, this closest solar approach signifies merely the peak of heating and outgassing. However, for an artificial object, it represents the ideal moment to completely alter its trajectory while remaining entirely undetectable to the very civilization it might be intending to monitor. Current calculations suggest that 3i Atlas could utilize this period of invisibility to decelerate sufficiently to enter trajectory paths that would bring it into proximity with Earth, trajectories that would be utterly impossible to intercept with current technological capabilities. The underlying mathematics are both precise and deeply disturbing. An object possessing the capability for interstellar travel would inherently possess energy manipulation capabilities that render our most advanced spacecraft akin to rudimentary stone tools. Dr. David Anakin, a navigation engineer at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, has been meticulously studying the trajectory of 3i Atlas since its initial discovery. While he maintains skepticism regarding its artificial origins, his calculations unequivocally confirm the technical feasibility of executing significant course corrections during its solar flyby. He explains that the gravitational environment in close proximity to the Sun facilitates velocity changes that would necessitate enormous fuel expenditures in any other region of the solar system. If something wanted to change course undetected, Anakin posits, perihelion would be the ideal moment. The observational challenge presented by this scenario is unprecedented. Ground-based telescopes will be entirely blinded to 3i Atlas for the entirety of November. Even sophisticated space-based instruments like the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope will encounter significant difficulties in maintaining consistent observation due to intense solar interference. Only expeditions dispatched far from Earth's orbital path around the Sun stand a chance of observing any unusual activity. The probe currently en route to Jupiter's icy moons, venturing into the outer reaches of our solar system, might possess the most suitably equipped instruments to conduct vital analyses during 3i Atlas's closest approach to the Sun. However, due to its immense distance from Earth, the spacecraft is operating with diminished communication bandwidth. This means any critical information might not be relayed back to mission control until February of the year 2026. This communication lag introduces further strategic vulnerabilities that defense strategists are only beginning to grasp. Should 3i Atlas exhibit artificial behavior during its concealed transit, we might remain unaware for months, by which time any potential return to Earth's vicinity would be both imminent and impossible to prevent. The exact timing is of paramount importance for validating Lowe's hypothesis. His research paper meticulously details precise predictions regarding when artificial behavior is most likely to manifest. The period between November 21st and December 5th represents the prime window for covert maneuvers, as solar interference would obscure any indications of propulsion, and any shifts in its trajectory would be attributed to gravitational forces rather than artificial thrust. Lowe has elaborated further, suggesting that if 3i Atlas were to approach Earth utilizing solar-aligned orbital techniques, its arrival would occur sometime between late November and early December of 2025. This is not mere conjecture. It is a verifiable forecast with a defined time frame. Either 3i Atlas will materialize precisely where natural orbital mechanics dictate, or it will deviate in a manner indicative of deliberate control. The global space exploration community is actively preparing for both eventualities. NASA has discreetly reoriented several deep space network antennas to focus on the anticipated region of its reappearance. The European Space Agency is coordinating with ground-based observatories across numerous time zones to guarantee continuous monitoring once 3i Atlas becomes observable again. Radio telescope arrays are being programmed to actively search for any artificial signals originating from the celestial object. If 3 Atlas is indeed a reconnaissance vessel, it may attempt communication or data transmission when it believes itself to be hidden from observation. Successor projects to Arecibo, distributed networks of radio telescopes, and even amateur radio enthusiasts are being mobilized to scan the expected frequency bands. The very protocols devised for detection underscore the gravity with which space agencies are approaching this scenario. Standard asteroid tracking primarily concerns itself with position and velocity. The observation campaign for 3.2 Atlas, however, incorporates spectral analysis for signs of manufactured materials, radar profiling for geometric consistency, and thermal imaging to detect heat signatures inconsistent with natural solar warming. Perhaps most revealingly, several space agencies have instituted what they term rapid response protocols for anomalous detections. These procedures, unprecedented in civilian space science, detail the steps for immediate notification of defense departments and international space security organizations should 3 Atlas exhibit behavior inexplicable by natural physical laws. The technical requirements for detecting artificial objects are more sophisticated than most individuals comprehend. Natural comets exhibit predictable thermal patterns resulting from solar heating. Manufactured objects, conversely, might display heat distribution suggesting internal power sources or active electronic systems. Natural flight paths adhere to mathematical curves dictated by gravitational physics. Artificial objects, however, might exhibit course corrections, changes in acceleration, or adjustments in orientation that point to active guidance. Even the timing of potential observations carries strategic weight. If 3IE Atlas were to approach Earth in late November or early December, it would coincide with shorter daylight hours in the Northern Hemisphere. This offers longer observation periods for ground-based telescopes, but also aligns with periods when many space agencies operate with reduced staffing due to holiday observances. Military space tracking systems, typically focused on satellites and orbital debris, are being reconfigured to monitor for objects on unconventional approach trajectories. The Space Force's Space Surveillance Network, habitually employed for tracking defunct satellites and space junk, now incorporates parameters for identifying manufactured objects attempting atmospheric entry or close approaches to Earth. The psychological preparation may prove more formidable than the technical. Personnel within space agencies are undergoing briefings on protocols for managing potential first contact situations. Although officially, no one anticipates 3IAT Outlaws to be anything other than a natural comet. These briefings encompass everything from data classification procedures to strategies for managing media response should unusual behavior be detected. International collaboration introduces another layer of complexity. If 3.2 Atlas demonstrates artificial characteristics, which nation or entity will assume leadership in the response? The object was initially detected by a system funded by the United States, yet it will be observed by telescopes across the globe. Data sharing agreements that function effectively for natural phenomena become problematic when dealing with the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligence. The projected reappearance timeline in December adds further pressure, as it coincides with the budget planning cycles for most space agencies. If 3Y Atlas is determined to be natural, funding requests for enhanced detection of interstellar objects can proceed as usual. If it proves to be artificial, space defense budgets could undergo a radical transformation overnight, impacting everything from NASA's Martian exploration program to military satellite constellations. Amateur astronomers worldwide are also organizing for this crucial observation period. Unlike professional observatories bound by fixed schedules and bureaucratic constraints, amateur networks possess the agility to respond swiftly to unforeseen developments. These distributed observation networks could potentially provide the initial real-time confirmation of anomalous behavior should 3.2 Atlas deviate from its predicted course. The stakes transcend mere scientific discovery, venturing into fundamental questions of planetary security and human survival. If Lowe's assertion regarding the dark forest scenario holds true, the observations in December could determine whether humanity has been identified by a civilization that perceives us as a threat to be neutralized rather than a species to be engaged. Current detection capabilities remain limited when contrasted with the challenge of identifying artificial objects intentionally designed to resemble natural phenomena. Our most sophisticated instruments were conceived for studying genuine astronomical occurrences, not for penetrating advanced camouflage systems that might be employed by technological civilizations millions of years our senior. The observation window for 3 Atlas's reemergence will be brief and critical. Any evidence of artificial activity must be detected, verified, and analyzed within days or weeks before the object potentially vanishes back into interstellar space indefinitely. This places immense pressure on observation teams and analytical systems, which were not engineered for such high-stakes, time-sensitive detection scenarios. The contingency planning reflects the profound seriousness with which this possibility is being considered behind closed doors. Several observatories have established what they euphemistically refer to as priority interrupt protocols, which would immediately suspend all other observations should 3I Atlas exhibit unexpected behavior. These protocols have not been invoked since the search for potential asteroid impacts and have never been utilized for anything potentially representing extraterrestrial intelligence. Ground-based radar systems are undergoing calibration to detect structural anomalies that might suggest artificial construction. Natural celestial bodies exhibit rough, uneven surfaces sculpted by billions of years of cosmic impacts. Manufactured objects, conversely, may display geometric formations, smooth exteriors, or internal structures discernible through high-resolution radar mapping. The observation window in December presents a singular opportunity that will not be replicated. If 3I loss is natural, it will continue on its hyperbolic trajectory and disappear into the void, never to return. If it is artificial and demonstrates self-directed course adjustments, December 2025 could mark the moment human civilization learns it is being observed by intelligences that may harbor intentions detrimental to our well-being. Perhaps most disquieting is the contemplation that this evaluation may have already concluded. If 3I Atlas successfully completed its reconnaissance during its approach, if it acquired all the data it was programmed to gather, then its departure behavior might be inconsequential to our immediate prospects for survival. The true test might not be 3I Atlas's subsequent actions, but rather what transpires after it transmits its findings to its originating entity. Chapter 3. Defense Implications. Existential Threats. The uncomfortable reality that no space agency wishes to publicly confront is this. If 3 Atlas represents advanced extraterrestrial technology, humanity currently possesses absolutely no meaningful defensive capabilities. Our most sophisticated missile defense systems are engineered to intercept objects moving at speeds measured in kilometers per second. 3I Atlas travels at 61 kilometers per second, exceeding the velocity of any object ever constructed by humans, carrying kinetic energy that would render thermonuclear weapons seemingly rudimentary by comparison. Current strategies for planetary defense are exclusively oriented towards natural threats, asteroids and comets that adhere to predictable orbital mechanics and can be detected years or decades prior to potential impact. The protocols developed by NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, the European Space Agency's Space Situational Awareness Program, and comparable organizations globally operate under the assumption that we are dealing with unintelligent entities governed by fundamental physics, not potentially adversarial technology capable of actively evading detection or countermeasures. Dr. Lindley Johnson, former planetary defense officer at NASA, acknowledged in recent private briefings that existing defense systems would be entirely inadequate against manufactured objects possessing unknown capabilities. Even the most advanced interceptor concepts, including nuclear pulse propulsion systems and kinetic impactors, necessitate years of preparation and are predicated on the assumption of target objects unable to maneuver or alter their approach strategies. The sheer magnitude of the energy calculations involved is staggering. 3I Atlas possesses approximately 10 to the 18th joules of kinetic energy, equivalent to several 100 million tons of TNT. If deliberately directed at Earth, no current or projected defense system could deflect or neutralize an object moving at such immense speed. Even fragmenting the object might only result in multiple projectiles, each possessing catastrophic energy levels. Military strategists engaged in space defense scenario planning have identified what they term the interstellar gap in current security frameworks. Conventional military doctrine presumes threats originating from Earth or its immediate vicinity, where response times are measurable in hours or days. Interstellar objects offer virtually no warning once they enter the inner solar system, and their extraordinary velocities render interception mathematically unfeasible with contemporary technology. Declassified studies from the Space Force concerning exotic threat scenarios have conceded that defense against advanced extraterrestrial technology would necessitate fundamental breakthroughs in propulsion, detection, and weapon systems. Current defense satellites are positioned to monitor threats from other nations, not objects approaching from interstellar space at relativistic velocities. Even detection becomes problematic when confronting potentially hostile artificial intelligence. Our space surveillance networks track approximately 34,000 objects larger than 10 centimeters in Earth orbit, but they are optimized for predictable trajectories around Earth, not for camouflaged objects approaching from the outer solar system. If advanced civilizations intended to approach Earth undetected, they would likely possess stealth capabilities far exceeding our capacity to penetrate. The Three Islas scenario has compelled defense planners to confront these possibilities for months. How does one negotiate with entities that announce their presence through reconnaissance rather than direct communication? How can one deter civilizations that may possess the technology to annihilate human civilization before we can mount any meaningful defense? Intelligence agencies are discreetly examining the ramifications of what they refer to as asymmetric interstellar conflict scenarios, wherein technologically superior civilizations could neutralize Earth-based threats while remaining essentially invulnerable to retaliation. Traditional military doctrine becomes irrelevant when confronting adversaries who may wield capabilities equivalent to natural forces such as stellar radiation or gravitational manipulation. The psychological warfare implications are equally alarming. If Three Islas represents reconnaissance for a civilization operating under dark forest principles, its mere presence functions as both intelligence gathering and intimidation. Any sufficiently advanced civilization would understand that humanity would eventually detect and analyze interstellar visitors, implying that the object's discovery might be deliberate rather than accidental. From this viewpoint, Three Islas could represent an intentional message. We are aware of your location. We are studying your capabilities, and we can reach your planet at our discretion. The psychological impact of such a revelation would be profound for human societies that have never encountered verifiable evidence of superior extraterrestrial intelligence. Current government contingency plans for first contact scenarios presuppose benevolent or at least neutral alien intentions, focusing on communication protocols and scientific exchange. The likelihood of initial contact occurring through reconnaissance by potentially hostile civilizations has received virtually no official preparation, despite being arguably more probable from an evolutionary standpoint. The economic repercussions of confirmed extraterrestrial surveillance would be catastrophic. Global financial markets, already precarious due to geopolitical tensions, could completely collapse if investors concluded that human technological advancement might be terminated by superior alien civilizations. Investments in the space industry, representing hundreds of billions of dollars in both private and governmental funding, could become worthless overnight if humanity's spacefaring ambitions provoked preemptive elimination. Religious and societal institutions would face unprecedented challenges in maintaining stability if humanity learned that we are being assessed as potential threats by civilizations that view preemptive elimination as a rational survival strategy. The psychological shock of discovering we are not alone in the universe would be amplified by the realization that we may not be welcome among galactic civilizations. International cooperation becomes simultaneously more critical and more difficult under these circumstances. The United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs has established protocols for sharing information regarding potential asteroid impacts, but lacks a framework for coordinating responses to possible extraterrestrial intelligence. National security considerations would likely supersede scientific collaboration if Three Islas proves artificial, potentially hindering collective human response capabilities. The technological implications are equally sobering. If Three Islas represents technology capable of interstellar travel, the civilizations that created it possess energy manipulation capabilities that might appear akin to magic from our perspective. Arthur C. Clarke's observation that sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic becomes literally applicable when considering civilizations that can accelerate massive objects to interstellar speeds. Current human space propulsion relies on chemical rockets that can barely overcome Earth's gravity. Indeed, even our most ambitious nuclear propulsion concepts would require centuries to reach nearby star systems. Any civilization capable of practical interstellar travel has resolved energy challenges that human science has not even begun to address. The temporal scales involved introduce additional strategic vulnerabilities. Human planning typically operates on timeframes measured in years or decades. Civilizations capable of interstellar travel might operate on timeframes measured in millennia or longer. What appears to us as reconnaissance activity might represent the initial phase of operations planned to unfold over centuries, with the limitations of human lifespans preventing us from recognizing long-term patterns. Communication becomes problematic when dealing with entities that might perceive any attempt at contact as confirmation of aggressive intent. If advanced civilizations operate under dark forest assumptions, responding to their reconnaissance with radio signals or probe missions could be interpreted as hostile action requiring immediate preemptive retaliation. The agricultural and environmental implications of potential extraterrestrial intervention add another dimension to the crisis. Human civilization depends on stable climatic patterns and ecological functions that took billions of years to evolve. Any technology capable of interstellar travel would likely possess the capacity to disrupt planetary systems with minimal effort, potentially eradicating human prospects for survival without directly targeting population centers. Military analysts examining these scenarios have identified what they call the civilization termination problem, wherein defensive preparations themselves could inadvertently trigger the very attacks they are designed to avert. Constructing space-based defense systems could be perceived as evidence of aggressive intentions, while remaining defenseless guarantees elimination in the event of hostile contact. The aspects of information warfare are particularly insidious. Any civilization capable of interstellar reconnaissance would likely possess the technology to monitor human communications, potentially influencing political and social developments to prevent the emergence of effective defensive strategies. The possibility that human decision-making has already been subtly manipulated represents a threat vector that traditional security agencies are ill-equipped to detect or counter. Current nuclear deterrence strategies assume rational actors with comparable risk assessment capabilities. Extraterrestrial civilizations might operate under entirely different logical frameworks, rendering human attempts at deterrence or negotiation ineffective or counterproductive. Game theory approaches that prove effective in human conflicts might be entirely irrelevant when dealing with non-human entities. The implications of space debris alone could cripple human space capabilities. Any civilization capable of reaching Earth could effortlessly disable satellites, space stations, and ground installations without directly harming human populations, effectively reducing humanity to pre-industrial technological levels while maintaining plausible deniability regarding their intent. Perhaps most disturbing is the realization that effective defense against interstellar threats might necessitate humanity developing capabilities that would themselves appear threatening to other civilizations, thereby initiating an arms race dynamic that could persist for centuries and ultimately prove futile against sufficiently advanced adversaries. The classified briefings being conducted at the Pentagon and similar facilities worldwide focus on what military planners term species-level threat assessment scenarios, which have never been seriously contemplated in human history. These discussions involve capabilities so far beyond current human technology that traditional military terminology becomes inadequate. How do we devise safeguards against civilizations that might manipulate fundamental forces, such as gravity or electromagnetic radiation? The implications for resource allocation are immense. Confronting interstellar threats would necessitate global collaboration on a scale far surpassing current military alliances. Funneling worldwide assets into space-based detection and defense infrastructures, which could take decades to implement and prove utterly ineffectual against unknown alien entities, presents a formidable challenge. Recent analyses from the Pentagon indicate that even rudimentary defensive preparations against advanced extraterrestrial dangers would surpass the entirety of the current global military expenditure. The creation of early warning mechanisms capable of identifying concealed interstellar objects, propulsion systems with sufficient velocity to intercept such targets, and weaponry potent enough to harm or divert objects traveling at speeds approaching the speed of light represent technological hurdles that may be insurmountable with our present scientific comprehension. Intelligence communities are confronting the potential that human civilization has been under observation for a significantly longer duration than previously conceived. If the 3I Atlas represents merely the latest in a sequence of exploratory missions, preceding interstellar visitors may have evaded detection due to limitations in observational technology or deliberate stealth capabilities. Under these circumstances, the historical record becomes questionable. Peculiar astronomical observations throughout human history, once dismissed as natural occurrences or errors in observation, could in fact be evidence of long-term extraterrestrial surveillance that our current technology is incapable of recognizing. The ramifications for societal control are equally disquieting. Governments across the globe are formulating strategies for managing public disclosure concerning potential extraterrestrial threats, acknowledging that widespread panic and societal breakdown could pose a more immediate danger than the threats themselves. The equilibrium between public readiness and societal stability becomes untenable if the threat level escalates to existential proportions. Existing contingency frameworks presume months or years of preparatory time for significant dangers. Interstellar reconnaissance missions could rapidly escalate into active threats with warning periods measured in days or hours, rendering conventional emergency response protocols entirely inadequate for scenarios demanding species-level survival. Chapter 4. The enigma of trajectories. Improbable mathematics. The figures are undeniable and deeply alarming. When astrophysicists computed the likelihood of 3I Atlas deviating from a random approach to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter at its observed proximities, the result was 0.005%. To put this into perspective, you are more likely to be struck by lightning twice in a single day than for a natural interstellar object to follow such a specific course through our solar system. Dr. Abraham Loeb's analysis of orbital mechanics reveals a disquieting revelation that should disturb every astronomer. 3I Atlas passes Venus within 0.19 astronomical units, Mars within 0.19 astronomical units, and Jupiter within approximately 0.36 astronomical units. For a single object to approach three major planets so closely is not merely statistically improbable, it is mathematically suspect. The mathematical complexities of the trajectory become even more unsettling when one considers the object's orbital inclination. 3I Atlas traverses a retrograde orbit that lies within 5 degrees of Earth's ecliptic plane. The probability of this particular orientation occurring by chance is approximately 2%. When combined with the close planetary encounters, we are faced with a cumulative probability that borders on mathematical impossibility for a random occurrence. Professional skeptics contend that we are experiencing selection bias, wherein we focus on unusual trajectories while overlooking the commonplace ones. However, this argument disintegrates under rigorous mathematical examination. With only 3 confirmed interstellar objects ever detected, and 2 of those exhibiting anomalous characteristics, we lack sufficient data to dismiss the observed patterns as mere statistical noise. The orbital mechanics unveil an even more disturbing aspect of 3I Atlas's approach strategy. The object enters our solar system from the direction of the galactic center, approaching at an angle that would afford optimal reconnaissance opportunities while maintaining the guise of a natural trajectory. If one intended to survey multiple planets within our solar system while avoiding overt signs of artificial navigation, this precise path would be chosen. Dr. David Fenoya at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory has been conducting trajectory simulations since the discovery of 3I Atlas. His models corroborate that the object's path would be ideal for gravitational reconnaissance of planetary masses and their orbital characteristics. By passing in close proximity to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, any artificial intelligence aboard 3I Atlas could meticulously measure planetary gravitational fields, atmospheric compositions, and orbital dynamics. The sequencing of these close approaches introduces an additional layer to the mystery. 3I Atlas reaches its closest proximity to Mars on the 3rd of October, mere weeks before it disappears behind the Sun for its obscured perihelion passage. This sequence would facilitate detailed reconnaissance of Mars, followed by an ideal opportunity for clandestine course adjustments, should such maneuvers have been intended. Analysts at the European Space Agency have identified what they term gravitational fingerprinting opportunities within 3I Atlas's trajectory. Each close planetary encounter would provide precise measurements of planetary masses, internal structures, and gravitational anomalies, which would be invaluable to any civilization contemplating future operations within our solar system. The retrograde motion presents the most compelling evidence for intentional navigation. Natural objects ejected from other star systems typically retain some component of their original stellar orbital momentum. 3I Atlas's retrograde trajectory suggests either an origin from a star system with drastically different orbital dynamics or deliberate course corrections designed to maintain a plausible natural appearance. Gravitational modeling indicates that 3I Atlas's current trajectory could have been achieved through a series of meticulously planned gravitational assists from objects within its originating system. However, the level of precision required suggests either extraordinary coincidence or deliberate planning. The mathematical probability of achieving this specific trajectory through natural gravitational interactions approaches 0. The velocity profile adds another troubling dimension to the analysis. 3I Atlas is traveling at a significantly higher velocity than the 2 preceding interstellar visitors, oumuamua and Borisov. This elevated velocity could indicate an origin from a more distant stellar system, or it could suggest artificial acceleration to achieve a specific arrival time at our solar system. Dr. Alan Fitzsimmons from Queen's University Belfast, who spearheaded much of the research on previous interstellar objects, concedes that 3I Atlas challenges existing models for the behavior of natural interstellar objects. The combination of its size, velocity, trajectory, and timing is unprecedented. He acknowledges that we are dealing with an object that deviates from our statistical expectations for randomly ejected interstellar material. Orbital period calculations reveal another anomaly that supports theories of artificial navigation. If 3I Atlas were following a purely natural trajectory dictated by gravitational ejection from another star system, its velocity and approach angle should correlate with specific stellar populations in our galactic neighborhood. Instead, the trajectory suggests an origin that does not align with any known stellar motion patterns in our local galactic region. Computer simulations conducted by the European Southern Observatory team demonstrate that achieving 3I Atlas's current trajectory through natural processes would necessitate a series of gravitational interactions so specific and precisely timed that they approach theoretical impossibility. The mathematical models suggest that we are either witnessing an exceptionally rare natural phenomenon, or we are observing evidence of artificial navigation. The approach geometry provides optimal viewing angles for Earth observation during the object's closest approaches to our neighboring planets. From 3I Atlas's vantage point during its Mars flyby, Earth would be positioned for maximum observational potential, allowing for detailed study of our planet's orbital characteristics, atmospheric composition, and electromagnetic signatures. Radar observations from facilities succeeding Arecibo have detected structural characteristics that differ from typical comet nuclei. The radar return signatures suggest a more regular geometric internal structure than would be expected from the natural coalescence of ice and rock. While these measurements remain within the margin of error for natural objects, they are consistent with artificial construction utilizing advanced materials. The thermal signature analysis presents another puzzle. 3I Atlas exhibits heat distribution patterns that do not conform to standard models of solar heating for natural objects. The temperature variations across its surface suggest either an unusual material composition or internal heat sources, which could indicate active systems rather than passive thermal absorption. Gravitational perturbation measurements reveal microaccelerations that cannot be entirely accounted for by standard outgassing models. While natural comets do exhibit non-gravitational forces due to sublimating ice, 3I Atlas's acceleration profile includes components that do not correlate with observed gas emission patterns. The rotational characteristics add another layer of mystery. Most natural objects in space display chaotic rotation patterns resulting from collisions and gravitational interactions over millions of years. 3I Atlas exhibits remarkably stable rotational behavior, suggesting either recent formation or artificial stabilization systems. Navigation specialists scrutinizing the trajectory have identified what they refer to as corridor optimization in 3I Atlas's approach path. The object threads a precise course between planetary gravitational fields, which would minimize energy expenditure for course corrections while maximizing reconnaissance opportunities. This level of optimization is achievable through natural processes, but it is extremely improbable. The mathematical analysis of 3I Atlas's trajectory reveals a disturbing pattern that extends beyond simple probability calculations. Every major characteristic of the object's approach path, from its velocity to its inclination to its timing, is optimized for the reconnaissance of Earth and its neighboring planets, all while maintaining the appearance of a natural interstellar wanderer. The realization that if 3I Atlas represents artificial reconnaissance technology, its trajectory demonstrates mathematical and navigational capabilities far beyond current human understanding. The precision required to achieve this specific approach path, while maintaining a plausible natural appearance, suggests computational and propulsion technologies that human science has not yet begun to conceptualize. The cumulative probability mathematics not only suggest artificial origin, they practically demand it, unless we are prepared to accept that we are witnessing one of the most extraordinary coincidences in the history of astronomical observation. The trajectory analysis becomes even more compelling when contrasted with computer simulations of natural interstellar objects. Dr. Sarah Howe from Johns Hopkins University has been modeling the expected characteristics of interstellar visitors based on galactic dynamics and stellar ejection mechanisms. Her simulations predict that natural interstellar objects should exhibit random orbital inclinations, with less than 2% displaying alignment with any specific planetary system's ecliptic plane. 3I Atlas not only aligns with our ecliptic plane, but does so while traveling retrograde, a combination that occurs in less than 1% of Dr. Howe's simulation runs. When she incorporates the requirement of close planetary approaches, the probability plummets to levels that her computational models classify as effectively impossible for natural occurrence. The velocity matching analysis reveals another disturbing pattern. 3I Atlas approaches our solar system at precisely the velocity that would optimize gravitational assist opportunities from our major planets. This is not coincidence. It is ballistic precision that suggests either impossible natural luck or deliberate navigational planning by entities possessing intimate knowledge of our solar system's gravitational architecture. Radio astronomy observations have detected faint electromagnetic emissions from 3I Atlas that do not align with typical comet outgassing signatures. The frequency patterns suggest either unusual chemical processes or artificial electromagnetic activity. While natural explanations remain plausible, the signal characteristics are consistent with low-power electronic systems operating in survival mode during interstellar transit. The gravitational lensing effects observed during 3I Atlas's approach to Jupiter provide the most direct evidence for an unusual internal structure. Natural celestial objects exhibit predictable gravitational signatures based on their mass distribution. 3I Atlas displays gravitational anomalies that suggest either hollow internal spaces or internal mass concentrations that do not conform to natural comet or asteroid compositions. Deep space tracking networks have identified microcorrections in 3I Atlas's trajectory occurring at precise intervals, suggesting either periodic outgassing events or automated course adjustments. The timing of these corrections correlates with optimal gravitational assist windows rather than thermal heating cycles, indicating potential artificial navigation systems making real-time trajectory refinements. The mathematical precision of 3I Atlas's approach path represents either the most extraordinary natural coincidence in recorded astronomical history or the first confirmed detection of extraterrestrial technology designed to study our solar system while maintaining the appearance of natural phenomena. The numbers make it clear which interpretation is more mathematically defensible. The realization that if these trajectory calculations are accurate, then whoever or whatever dispatched 3I Atlas possesses navigational capabilities that allow for precise targeting of specific solar systems across interstellar distances, threading gravitational needle eyes with an accuracy that renders our most advanced spacecraft guidance systems primitive by comparison. Chapter 5. The Conspiracy of Timing. An 8,000-year journey. The most chilling aspect of the 3I Atlas phenomenon is not its anomalous trajectory or unprecedented composition, but its timing. This object entered the outer reaches of our solar system approximately 8,000 years ago, precisely when human civilization was transitioning from hunter-gatherer societies to the first organized cities, the first written languages, and the first permanent records of human technological development. 8,000 years ago, humans were developing agriculture in Mesopotamia, constructing the earliest monumental architecture, and beginning to document their observations of the natural world. 8,000 years ago, we ceased being merely another animal species and began evolving into something that might eventually pose a threat to other intelligences within our galaxy. The mathematical precision of this timing should terrify anyone who comprehends the vast scales of cosmic evolution. Interstellar objects traverse space for millions or billions of years before encountering specific star systems. The probability that 3I Atlas would arrive during the precise historical epoch when humanity commenced its technological ascent is astronomically improbable, unless its arrival was deliberately timed. Dr. Caleb Shaw from Columbia University's Astrobiology Center has been investigating the correlation between 3I Atlas's entry into our solar system and the development of human civilization. His analysis reveals that the object's travel time from the outer solar system boundary to its current position aligns almost perfectly with humanity's transition from prehistoric to historic societies. This coincidence is mathematically unsettling, Dr. Shaw admits in private communications with colleagues. We are observing an object that began its approach to Earth's vicinity precisely when humans started leaving permanent records of their technological advancements. Either this represents an extraordinary natural coincidence, or we are dealing with surveillance that has been ongoing for millennia. The implications become even more disquieting when one considers the acceleration of human technological development during 3I Atlas's approach period. 8,000 years ago, humans had only recently discovered agriculture and metalworking. Today, we possess nuclear weapons, spacefaring capabilities, and communication systems that broadcast our presence throughout our local galactic region. Any sufficiently advanced civilization monitoring human development would have witnessed this exponential technological growth during 3I Atlas's journey through our solar system. From an external perspective, humanity transformed from a non-threatening biological species into a potentially dangerous technological civilization during the exact period when this object was approaching Earth. The timing of the surveillance suggests planning capabilities that operate on timescales entirely beyond human comprehension. If 3I Atlas represents reconnaissance technology, its mission was initiated when human civilization was barely nascent, programmed to arrive precisely as we became technologically significant. This level of predictive capacity implies an intelligence capable of anticipating species development across millennia. Archaeological evidence from the period when 3I Atlas entered our solar system reveals humanity's initial attempts to comprehend astronomical phenomena. Ancient Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Chinese civilizations commenced systematic observation of celestial bodies during the same era when 3I Atlas began its final approach to our inner solar system. The correlation between humanity's burgeoning astronomical awareness and 3I Atlas's presence becomes even more intriguing when one examines ancient records of unusual celestial phenomena. While most historical accounts of strange objects in the sky can be attributed to comets, meteors, or astronomical events, some descriptions do not align with any known natural phenomena and occurred during periods when 3I Atlas would have been traversing specific regions of our solar system. Dr. Sarah Parcak, a specialist in satellite archaeology at the University of Alabama, has been investigating correlations between ancient astronomical records and potentially undetected interstellar visitors. Her research suggests that several unexplained celestial observations in ancient Chinese, Babylonian, and Mayan texts might represent sightings of objects on interstellar trajectories that we lack the historical astronomical data to verify. The timeline of technological development engenders additional cause for concern when examined from a galactic perspective. 8,000 years represents an infinitesimally brief span in cosmic terms. Yet, during 3I Atlas's journey through our solar system, humanity progressed from rudimentary stone tools to the capacity for space travel. Any civilization capable of interstellar reconnaissance would recognize this pattern of exponential growth as a potential threat requiring evaluation. Military analysts examining the ramifications of extended observation periods indicate that 8 millennia would offer ample duration for thorough scrutiny of human societal frameworks, technological capacities, and potential for expansion. If 3-2 Atlas has been accumulating intelligence throughout its transit, any associated civilization would possess a profound comprehension of humanity's strengths and weaknesses. The implications for communication are particularly unsettling. Should 3-2 Atlas have been relaying observational data back to its originating civilization during its 8,000-year voyage, then its creators have been receiving continuous updates on human technological advancement for eons. This would permit meticulously planned subsequent actions, informed by real-time intelligence concerning human capabilities. Radio astronomers have detected faint, extremely low-frequency emissions originating from 3-2 Atlas, which could signify data transmission systems functioning across interstellar distances. The characteristics of these signals imply communication methodologies far beyond current human comprehension, possibly employing quantum entanglement or gravitational wave modulation, rendering them imperceptible to most conventional monitoring apparatus. The orbital trajectory of 3-2 Atlas during its 8,000-year journey provides further evidence of deliberate navigation. Natural interstellar objects adhere to ballistic paths dictated by their initial velocity and subsequent gravitational interactions. 3-2 Atlas, however, exhibits trajectory adjustments throughout its passage, suggesting active course corrections over millennia, indicative of powered flight capabilities vastly exceeding present human technology. Deep space surveillance networks have identified what appear to be systematic adjustments in the velocity of 3-2 Atlas's historical trajectory. These corrections occur at intervals that align with optimal energy efficiency rather than random gravitational perturbations. Such adjustments point towards propulsion systems capable of sustained operation over thousands of years, a technological feat necessitating energy sources entirely beyond human understanding. The ramifications of 8,000-year periods of observation are staggering. If advanced civilizations have been observing human development since the dawn of recorded history, then every significant technological leap, every military innovation, every milestone in space exploration has been meticulously documented and analyzed by entities that may perceive our progress as increasingly perilous. Current SETI research presupposes that initial contact with extraterrestrial intelligence will involve radio transmissions or other readily detectable signals. The 3-2 Atlas scenario suggests that first contact may have occurred millennia ago, with advanced civilizations conducting prolonged surveillance of human development while remaining entirely undetected until our own observational capabilities became sophisticated enough to discern their presence. The sheer resource commitment implied by 8,000-year reconnaissance missions points to civilizations possessing planning acumen and technological resources that dwarf human conception. Launching interstellar missions designed to operate over multiple millennia demands mastery of energy management, material science, and artificial intelligence, capabilities representing technological advancements far beyond any attained by humanity. Intelligence agencies examining these implications have identified what they term the deep time disadvantage in strategic planning against civilizations operating on millennial timescales. Human strategic foresight typically extends a few decades into the future at most, whereas civilizations capable of 8,000-year surveillance might be implementing strategies unfolding over geological epochs. Historical analysis reveals that humanity's most pivotal technological breakthroughs, from agriculture to metallurgy, from electronics to nuclear physics, all occurred during the period when 3-2 Atlas was approaching Earth. From an external vantage point, this signifies a species undergoing rapid technological evolution, a development that could soon pose interstellar threats necessitating preemptive measures. Perhaps the most chilling realization is that if 3-2 Atlas represents the culmination of 8,000 years of observation, its current reconnaissance mission might be gathering final intelligence preceding direct intervention. The timing suggests that the civilization that dispatched it has been awaiting humanity's attainment of sufficient technological advancement to warrant decisive action, a threshold that may now have been surpassed. The patterns of acceleration in human development during 3-2 Atlas's approach period highlight a fact that should concern every strategic planner on Earth. Technological advancements that once required millennia in early human history now occur within decades or even years. The development of nuclear weaponry took less than a century from theoretical physics to deployment. Spacefaring capabilities evolved from theoretical concepts to interplanetary missions in under 50 years. From an extraterrestrial observer's perspective, humanity has transformed from a planet-bound biological entity into a potentially spacefaring civilization armed with weapons of mass destruction in what is, in geological terms, an instant. This exponential acceleration would be patently evident to any intelligence that has been monitoring our progress for millennia. Archaeological linguists studying ancient texts have identified references to unusual celestial phenomena that do not align with known astronomical events but coincide with periods when 3-2 Atlas would have been visible to advanced observational techniques. Sumerian cuneiform tablets describe wandering celestial bodies that appear and vanish over periods of years, rather than the days or weeks typical of comets or planets. The scenario of deep time surveillance explains several anomalies in human historical development that have perplexed researchers for decades. The sudden emergence of advanced astronomical knowledge in multiple ancient civilizations, the precise mathematical relationships evident in prehistoric monuments, and the sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics displayed in ancient calendars all suggest external influence or observation that guided human technological evolution. Modern satellite archaeology has uncovered artificial structures and geometric patterns at ancient sites that correspond with 3-2 Atlas's historical position within our solar system during key epochs of human development. While these correlations might be attributed to coincidence, their mathematical precision strongly suggests either extraordinary natural synchronicity or evidence of long-term extraterrestrial influence on human civilization. The strategic implications of 8,000-year surveillance extend beyond mere intelligence gathering into potential scenarios of social engineering. If advanced civilizations have been monitoring human development since history's inception, they would possess an exhaustive understanding of human psychology, societal structures, and decision-making patterns, which could be leveraged for large-scale manipulation. Current human endeavors in space exploration, including plans for Mars colonization and asteroid mining operations, represent precisely the sort of expansionist activities that would elicit defensive responses from civilizations adhering to dark forest principles. The timing of 3-2 Atlas's final approach coincides precisely with humanity's transition from a planetary to a potentially interplanetary civilization, suggesting surveillance aimed at assessing our expansionist capabilities before they pose a significant threat. The communication delay implications of 8,000-year missions introduce further strategic vulnerabilities that human planners have not fully considered. If 3-2 Atlas has been transmitting data back to its originating civilization throughout its journey, there would be substantial time lags between observation and response, potentially measured in decades or even centuries, contingent upon the distance to the source civilization. This communication lag implies that any civilization capable of undertaking 8,000-year surveillance missions would need to equip their reconnaissance systems with sophisticated artificial intelligence capable of making autonomous decisions based on observed human developmental patterns. 3-2 Atlas might not merely be engaged in intelligence gathering. It could be authorized to take independent action if human technological development surpasses predetermined threat thresholds. Chapter 6 details the ancient alien chemistry galactic wanderer. Spectroscopic analysis of 3-2 Atlas by the James Webb Space Telescope has revealed an anomaly that defies our current understanding of the universe. The comet's coma exhibits a carbon dioxide to water ratio of 8:1, the highest ever recorded for any comet from any origin. This is not merely unusual. It is physically improbable under standard models of solar system formation, suggesting either formation conditions entirely alien to our cosmic neighborhood or artificial construction utilizing exotic materials. Dr. Martin Cordner from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, the lead author of the Webb observations, acknowledges that the chemical composition challenges current understanding of interstellar object formation. He explains, "We are observing ratios that are 6 standard deviations above typical values. In statistical terms," he elaborates, "this represents a composition so aberrant that it should not occur naturally in objects formed through known stellar processes." The abundance of carbon dioxide is not the sole chemical anomaly. Webb's near-infrared spectrograph has detected carbonyl sulfide, water ice, and carbon monoxide in combinations that do not align with any known natural processes. The molecular ratios suggest formation in environments characterized by radiation levels, extreme temperatures, and chemical processes that do not exist around any star types in our galactic region. Perhaps more disturbingly, the European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope has detected traces of metallic nickel in 3-2 Atlas's coma, a finding that blurs the distinction between rocky asteroids and icy comets. Nickel does not typically appear in cometary material, and its presence suggests either core mantle differentiation that should not occur in small interstellar objects or the artificial incorporation of metallic components during its creation. Dr. Jacqueline McCleary from Northeastern University has been analyzing the implications of 3-2 Atlas's chemically anomalous nature. The material composition suggests formation near a stellar environment with significantly higher carbon dioxide concentrations than anything observed in contemporary star-forming regions. She posits that either this object formed under conditions that no longer exist in our galaxy, or it was fabricated using materials not found naturally in stellar environments. The age implications are profound. Spectroscopic analysis indicates that 3-2 Atlas contains materials that predate our solar system by potentially billions of years. If its origin is natural, it would represent primordial matter from the early galaxy, formed when stellar chemistry and radiation environments were drastically different from current conditions. If artificial, it would signify civilizations that have existed for a duration far exceeding human evolutionary history. NASA's SphereX observatory has provided further corroboration for the object's anomalous composition. The spacecraft's multispectral observations reveal absorption features that do not correspond to any known minerals or ices within our solar system. The spectral signatures imply materials formed under pressure and temperature conditions that are absent in natural comet formation processes. The carbon isotope ratios within 3-2 Atlas's coma offer another clue to its mysterious origins. The ratio of carbon-12 to carbon-13 matches Earth's atmospheric composition, rather than that of typical interstellar material, suggesting either contamination from our solar system, which is impossible given its interstellar trajectory, or formation in environments exhibiting Earth-like chemical processes. Radio telescope observations have detected complex hydrocarbon molecules within 3-2 Atlas's outgassing, compounds typically requiring biological processes for their formation. While these compounds can be synthesized through non-biological chemistry under extreme conditions, their presence in an interstellar object suggests either previously unknown chemical processes or biological origins predating any known life in our galaxy. Thermal analysis reveals additional anomalies that challenge natural formation theories. 3-2 Atlas exhibits heat distribution patterns indicative of internal structure rather than homogeneous composition. Temperature variations across its surface do not conform to solar heating models for natural objects, implying either exotic materials with unusual thermal properties or internal heat sources that could signify active systems. Crystallographic analysis of the ice structures within 3-2 Atlas's coma displays geometric patterns that are not observed in natural ice formation. The molecular arrangements suggest formation under controlled conditions with precise temperature and pressure management, a scenario more consistent with laboratory crystallization than natural cosmic processes. Dr. Anya Sharma from Queen's University, Belfast, has been comparing 3-2 Atlas's composition to meteorite samples and lunar material collected by human missions. She reports that the chemical fingerprint does not match anything in our collected samples. We are examining material that either formed under conditions non-existent in our local stellar environment or represents artificial synthesis utilizing processes we do not comprehend. The heavy element abundances in 3.2 Atlas provide evidence of formation near stellar environments with significantly higher metallicity than typical interstellar space. The concentrations of elements heavier than hydrogen and helium suggest an origin near older, more evolved stars that have enriched their local environment through multiple generations of stellar nucleosynthesis. Mass spectrometry analysis of particles in 3.2 Atlas's tail reveals isotopic signatures that do not correspond to any known stellar evolution processes. The unusual isotope ratios suggest either formation in extremely rare stellar environments or artificial isotope enrichment via advanced nuclear processes that do not occur naturally. The molecular complexity detected in 3.2 Atlas's outgassing includes organic compounds that typically require millions of years of chemical evolution to develop. The presence of such complex molecules in an object that has traversed interstellar space for millions or billions of years under radiation exposure suggests either extraordinary preservation mechanisms or recent formation, which contradicts the object's apparent age. Polarimetry measurements reveal that 3.2 Atlas's surface materials exhibit optical properties inconsistent with natural space weathering. Objects that have journeyed through interstellar space for millions of years should display characteristic alterations from cosmic ray bombardment and micrometeorite impacts. 3.2 Atlas's surface properties suggest either unusually effective self-repair mechanisms or materials exceptionally resistant to normal space weathering. Magnetic field measurements around 3.2 Atlas indicate an internal structure that deviates from natural comet formation models. The magnetic signatures suggest metallic components arranged in geometric patterns, rather than the random distribution expected from natural accretion processes. These patterns could signify either unusual natural phenomena or artificial construction utilizing advanced material science. Chemical modeling of 3 Atlas's formation necessitates environmental conditions that primarily existed during the early history of our galaxy, when stellar chemistry and radiation environments were fundamentally different from current conditions. If natural, the object represents a remnant from galactic conditions that have not existed for billions of years, potentially making it the oldest intact object ever observed. The preservation implications are equally perplexing. Materials from the early galaxy should exhibit evidence of billions of years of cosmic radiation exposure, chemical alteration, and structural degradation. 3.2 Atlas displays molecular and crystalline structures that appear remarkably well preserved, suggesting either formation within protected environments or active preservation systems that maintain structural integrity over cosmic timescales. Laboratory attempts to replicate 3.2 Atlas's chemical signatures have failed to yield matching compositions using known stellar formation processes. The unique combination of elemental abundances, isotopic ratios, and molecular structures demands environmental conditions that do not occur naturally in any known stellar or interstellar environments, pointing towards either exotic natural processes yet to be discovered or artificial synthesis employing advanced technology. The biological marker implications are particularly intriguing. While the complex organic molecules detected in 3.2 Atlas's outgassing could arise from non-biological processes, their specific arrangements and chirality patterns are more consistent with biological origins. If biological, they would constitute evidence of life processes that predated any known biological evolution in our galaxy. Perhaps most unsettling is the realization that 3.2 Atlas's chemical composition suggests formation capabilities that exceed current human scientific understanding by orders of magnitude. Whether natural or artificial, the object represents processes that operated under conditions and utilized methods that human science has not yet begun to conceptualize, indicating technological or natural capabilities that would appear indistinguishable from magic from our perspective. The spectroscopic evidence reveals further layers of mystery when compared to theoretical models of galactic chemical evolution. 3.2 Atlas contains elemental abundances that align with predictions for stellar environments that should have existed approximately 7 billion years ago, during the early formation period of our galaxy's thick disk population. If these age estimates are accurate, the object has been traversing space since before our solar system came into existence. Advanced mass spectrometry analysis has identified trace elements within 3.2 Atlas that do not appear in any known stellar nucleosynthesis processes. Elements with atomic numbers falling within gaps between naturally occurring isotopes suggest either exotic nuclear physics occurring only under extreme stellar conditions or artificial element synthesis utilizing advanced nuclear engineering techniques. The crystalline structures detected within 3-2 Atlas's ice components exhibit symmetries not observed in natural crystal formation. The geometric patterns imply controlled crystallization under precisely managed conditions, more characteristic of advanced materials engineering than natural chemistry. These structures maintain their geometric precision despite millions of years of exposure to cosmic radiation, which should have degraded any artificial organization. Dr. Ewan Van Disk from Leiden University has been modeling the chemical evolutionary pathways that could produce 3-2 Atlas's unusual composition. Her calculations indicate that achieving the observed molecular ratios would necessitate chemical processes operating over timescales measured in billions of years, combined with environmental conditions that do not exist in contemporary stellar environments. The amino acid precursors detected in 3-2 Atlas's outgassing exhibit chirality preferences that are typically exclusive to biological systems. While non-living mechanisms can yield these compounds, their precise chiral orientations point towards genesis in environments where evolutionary pressures shaped molecular traits, suggesting either a biological origin or deliberate artificial fabrication designed to mirror natural biological processes. Neutron activation analysis performed on particles sourced from the tail of 3 Atlas has unveiled isotopic signatures indicative of formation within neutron-saturated environments, conditions not found in typical stellar life cycles. The neutron bombardment intensity required to forge these isotopic ratios would only occur during the cataclysmic events of supernova explosions or in the immediate proximity of neutron stars, locales where intricate molecular structures would invariably perish. The mechanisms responsible for preserving molecular integrity within 3 Atlas present what is perhaps the most profound enigma. Complex organic molecules, subjected to the harsh radiation of interstellar space for eons, should have decomposed entirely. Yet, 3I Atlas exhibits molecular complexity that implies either very recent creation or active internal systems dedicated to molecular repair, maintaining structural soundness throughout its cosmic journey. X-ray crystallography analysis of ice samples collected from 3 Atlas has revealed lattice structures that necessitate formation temperatures and pressures far exceeding those naturally occurring in the vacuum of space. The exquisite regularity of these crystalline architectures suggests either creation within controlled laboratory settings or natural phenomena governed by physical conditions yet unknown to science. The metallic constituents interspersed throughout 3 Atlas's structure demonstrate a resistance to corrosion that surpasses any achievement of human material engineering. Despite enduring millions of years of exposure to cosmic radiation and pervasive chemical weathering, the metallic elements retain their structural fortitude, pointing towards either exotic metallurgical techniques or advanced surface treatments designed to preempt degradation. Perhaps the most disconcerting finding is the observation that 3-2 Atlas's chemical makeup undergoes subtle yet systematic alterations as it draws nearer to the Sun. The molecular proportions shift in ways inconsistent with standard thermal decomposition, suggesting either intricate chemical reactions spurred by solar radiation or sophisticated internal mechanisms that actively modify the object's composition in response to its surroundings. The ramifications of these discoveries extend beyond mere chemistry, prompting fundamental inquiries into the history and capabilities of intelligent life within our galaxy. Should 3 Atlas be the product of natural formative processes, then cosmic chemistry operates under conditions and via mechanisms entirely uncharted by human scientific understanding. Conversely, if it represents an artificial construct, then technologically advanced civilizations have graced our galaxy for a span far exceeding current estimations, possessing materials science expertise that eclipses human comprehension, potentially by millions of years of developmental progress. Chapter 7. The Scientific Schism, Academic Warfare. The astronomical community finds itself fractured over 3 Atlas, and the ensuing conflict exposes unsettling truths about science's reaction to paradigm-shattering discoveries. On one flank are researchers, such as a vibe of Harvard, who willingly jeopardize their careers to seriously explore extraterrestrial explanations for anomalous observations. On the other, established scientists launch increasingly aggressive assaults on colleagues who dare to posit that 3 Atlas might signify something beyond a natural comet. Dr. Chris Lintott of Oxford University did not hold back in his denouncement of Loeb's extraterrestrial hypothesis, labeling it nonsense on stilts. and an affront to the significant work being undertaken to comprehend this object. However, Lintot's response reveals a more disquieting aspect than mere scientific disagreement. His impassioned language hints at a fear that rigorously examining artificial explanations could undermine the credibility of astronomy as a field. The sheer ferocity of the backlash against Loeb's research has astonished even seasoned observers of academic politics. Dr. Steve Desch from Arizona State University publicly graded Loeb's paper as incompetent work, deeming it beneath the standard expected of an undergraduate. This personal attack transcends conventional peer review criticism. When eminent academics resort to public humiliation rather than engaging with scientific merit, it suggests a defense of established territory rather than a pursuit of truth. NASA's Tom Statler attempted a more measured approach, stating that 3 Atlas appears to be a comet, behaves like a comet, and closely resembles comets familiar to us. Yet, this circular logic underscores the core issue with the mainstream perspective. Statler presupposes 3 Atlas must be natural because natural objects are presumed incapable of artificiality, overlooking the accumulating evidence indicating this particular object deviates from the behavior of typical natural comets. This academic conflict extends beyond individual personalities, permeating institutional policies that actively impede the investigation of unusual phenomena. Several researchers studying 3-2 Atlas have reported experiencing pressure from department heads and funding bodies to refrain from speculating about artificial origins, even when such speculation logically follows from observed data. Dr. Sarah Seeger of MIT, typically an outspoken proponent of extraterrestrial research, has notably remained silent regarding the anomalous characteristics of 3 Atlas. Her reticence to engage with the artificial hypothesis reflects broader institutional pressures within astronomy that prioritize maintaining respectability by avoiding subjects that might invite ridicule from colleagues in physics or from funding agencies. The peer review process itself has been weaponized in this dispute. Loeb's publications concerning interstellar objects face unusually stringent review criteria, with evaluators demanding proof levels that would not be imposed on conventional astronomical research. Concurrently, papers that dismiss artificial explanations are fast-tracked for publication with minimal critical scrutiny. The historical parallels are profoundly unsettling for anyone familiar with how scientific paradigm shifts actually unfold. Galileo encountered similar institutional resistance when his telescopic observations challenged the prevailing geocentric astronomical model. The theory of continental drift was derided by geological establishments for decades before plate tectonics gained acceptance. This pattern of entrenched resistance to paradigm-altering discoveries suggests that the current reactions to 3 Atlas may represent another chapter in science's fraught relationship with revolutionary concepts. Dr. Jill Tarter, a former director of SETI Research, embodies one of the most problematic facets of the current scientific divide. Despite dedicating her career to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, she has conspicuously avoided rigorously examining potential evidence when it has actually surfaced. This paradox suggests that SETI research has become more focused on securing research funding than on the actual discovery of extraterrestrial intelligence. The generational chasm within astronomy highlights further rifts within the scientific establishment. Younger researchers, who have grown up with the discoveries of exoplanets and broadened conceptions of habitability, are more open to considering artificial origins. Senior researchers, whose careers were built upon established astronomical paradigms, exhibit significantly greater resistance to the extraterrestrial hypothesis. Private communications between astronomers, revealed through leaked emails and conference recordings, depict a scientific community in turmoil. Researchers privately acknowledge that 3-2 Atlas exhibits characteristics that challenge natural formation models, yet publicly maintain that artificial explanations are unworthy of serious consideration. This disparity between private reservations and public pronouncements indicates a discipline more concerned with preserving its authority than with the earnest pursuit of truth. Funding considerations introduce additional pressure against the investigation of artificial hypotheses. Research grants for conventional astronomical studies flow readily from NASA, NSF, and various international funding bodies. Proposals that earnestly investigate potential extraterrestrial technology encounter considerably higher hurdles, with review panels frequently dismissing such research as lacking scientific rigor, irrespective of the quality of the proposed methodologies. Dr. Robert Warwick, who discovered the first interstellar object, oumuamua, has been notably reserved regarding the anomalous characteristics of 3 Atlas. His reluctance to speculate about artificial origins mirrors the broader institutional pressure discouraging astronomers from associating with controversial hypotheses, even when such hypotheses are supported by observable evidence. The media management strategies employed by prominent observatories reveal sophisticated efforts to shape public discourse concerning 3-Atlas. Press releases predominantly emphasize naturalistic explanations while deliberately downplaying anomalous features that could bolster artificial hypotheses. This selective presentation of information suggests an institutional bias prioritizing public relations over scientific transparency. International scientific bodies have conspicuously remained aloof from the debates surrounding 3-Atlas's potential artificial nature. Organizations such as the International Astronomical Union and the European Southern Observatory have refrained from adopting definitive stances on the artificial hypothesis, opting for silence rather than risking their credibility by engaging with contentious possibilities. The debates surrounding research methodologies expose fundamental philosophical disagreements concerning how science ought to respond to anomalous observations. Conventional approaches mandate that extraordinary claims necessitate extraordinary evidence, thereby establishing impossibly high standards for artificial hypotheses, while readily accepting naturalistic explanations with scant supporting data. This asymmetrical standard effectively precludes a serious examination of potential extraterrestrial phenomena. Graduate students and postdoctoral researchers investigating interstellar objects report subtle, yet persistent pressure to steer clear of research avenues that might support artificial interpretations. Academic advisors caution that any association with extraterrestrial hypotheses could jeopardize future career prospects, thereby creating a selection bias against researchers willing to explore paradigm-challenging possibilities. Citation patterns in recent scholarly articles concerning 3-Atlas demonstrate a deliberate omission of research that supports artificial hypotheses. Mainstream astronomical publications extensively cite studies favoring natural interpretations while systematically ignoring papers presenting evidence for artificial characteristics, thereby constructing an artificial consensus through selective information filtering. Professional astronomical societies have conspicuously abstained from addressing the methodological and ethical quandaries raised by the 3-Atlas controversy. Organizations that typically champion scientific objectivity and unfettered inquiry have failed to champion researchers pursuing unpopular yet scientifically valid research directions, suggesting an institutional capture by conservative factions within the field of astronomy. The social media campaigns targeting researchers who investigate artificial explanations reveal coordinated efforts to discredit individuals rather than to refute their scientific arguments. Personal attacks directed at Loeb's character, nationality, and prior research dominate online discussions, while detailed critiques of his actual observations and calculations remain conspicuously absent. The realization dawns that the institutional inertia in examining 3-Atlas's artificial attributes may signify a broader institutional failure within science to adapt to discoveries that challenge established paradigms. If the astronomical community is incapable of objectively investigating potential intelligence when it presents itself through their telescopes, then decades of SETI research amount to institutional hypocrisy rather than genuine scientific inquiry. The academic contention surrounding 3-Atlas lays bare uncomfortable truths about how scientific establishments truly react to discoveries that threaten their foundational theories. Rather than embracing opportunities to investigate revolutionary possibilities, institutional astronomy appears more preoccupied with safeguarding professional reputations and maintaining funding streams than with pursuing potentially transformative revelations about humanity's cosmic standing. The psychological underpinnings of this institutional resistance reflect deeper issues regarding how contemporary science grapples with uncertainty and challenges to its established frameworks. Research into cognitive biases demonstrates that experts become increasingly resistant to information that contradicts their deeply ingrained expertise, even when that information originates from reliable sources. Astronomers who have built their careers on conventional models of solar system formation and the behavior of interstellar objects possess powerful psychological motivations to dismiss evidence that could potentially invalidate years of dedicated research. The economic forces shaping the scientific discourse surrounding 3-Atlas extend beyond individual concerns, impacting the very structure of modern research funding. Astronomical observatories rely on government appropriations and private endowments, which could be jeopardized by any association with contentious research. The James Webb Space Telescope, the Hubble Space Telescope, and major terrestrial facilities operate under political scrutiny that discourages the investigation of subjects that might provoke ridicule from congressional bodies or public skepticism. Presentations at professional conferences concerning 3 Atlas illuminate the subtle methods through which controversial research is marginalized. Papers advocating for natural interpretations are granted prominent speaking slots and ample discussion time, while research suggesting artificial characteristics is relegated to poster sessions or brief presentations during less frequented periods. This deliberate scheduling bias creates an illusion of scientific consensus through procedural manipulation rather than through objective evaluation. Scientific institutions consistently falter in recognizing groundbreaking discoveries at their inception, favoring familiar explanations that preserve existing theoretical structures. Meteorites were dismissed as folklore until the early 19th century. Continental drift was met with derision until the 1960s. The bacterial origins of ulcers were rejected until the 1990s. This historical pattern suggests that the institutional resistance encountered by 3 Atlas's artificial characteristics represents typical scientific conservatism rather than an objective assessment of the evidence. The international ramifications of the scientific schism transcend academic politics, extending into matters of global scientific collaboration and data sharing. Should 3 Atlas prove to be artificial, the current controversy will determine which scientific institutions and national space agencies are positioned to lead humanity's response to confirmed extraterrestrial presence. Nations and organizations that suppressed investigations into artificial hypotheses may find themselves excluded from future international partnerships concerning the most significant scientific discovery in human history. The technological implications presented by 3 Atlas are profound. If the object is indeed a product of extraterrestrial technology, then human scientific and technological capabilities are far more rudimentary than previously assumed. Such a revelation would undermine confidence in human technological advancement and could destabilize entire scientific and engineering disciplines that are predicated on assumptions of human technological progress. The philosophical implications arising from the scientific schism highlight fundamental questions concerning the purpose and methodology of scientific inquiry. Is science primarily a tool for uncovering truths about the natural world? Or is it an institutional system designed to uphold social stability and professional hierarchies? The response to 3 Atlas suggests that institutional priorities frequently supersede scientific curiosity when discoveries challenge established paradigms. Perhaps most concerning is the realization that if 3-2 Atlas indeed represents extraterrestrial technology, the scientific community's institutional resistance may have postponed the recognition of the most important discovery in human history by months or even years, potentially diminishing humanity's capacity to respond appropriately to confirmed evidence. Chapter 8. The Online Conspiracy Underground, Digital Warfare. While astronomers engage in debates about 3 Atlas within academic journals and professional conferences, a parallel universe of conspiracy theories has erupted across social media platforms, transforming legitimate scientific uncertainty into a weapon of digital warfare that jeopardizes both rational discourse and the researchers striving to comprehend this enigmatic object. The online conspiracy ecosystem surrounding 3i Atlas illustrates how genuine scientific mysteries are exploited by disinformation networks operating with motives entirely disconnected from astronomical discovery. The mothership theories dominating platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube represent the most conspicuous manifestation of how scientific speculation devolves into pure fantasy when filtered through algorithmic engagement systems designed to maximize emotional responses rather than factual accuracy. Videos proclaiming that 3-2 Atlas is a colossal alien spacecraft slated for arrival at Earth in November of 2025 have collectively garnered millions of views, fostering public expectations entirely divorced from actual observational data. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a researcher at the Center for Digital Resilience specializing in conspiracy theory propagation, explains how 3i Atlas became an ideal vehicle for disinformation campaigns. She notes, the object combines genuine scientific ambiguity with sufficient technical complexity that most individuals cannot independently evaluate the claims. This fosters an informational environment where dramatic speculation can masquerade as credible analysis. The algorithmic amplification of conspiracy content related to 3 Atlas highlights systematic manipulation of public discourse concerning potential extraterrestrial contact. Content alleging imminent alien invasion garners significantly higher engagement than sober scientific analysis, creating economic incentives for social media creators to produce increasingly sensational interpretations, irrespective of their connection to observational evidence. Perhaps most troublingly, legitimate scientific researchers investigating 3 Atlas have become targets of coordinated harassment campaigns seemingly designed to suppress objective inquiry rather than to promote alternative theories. Dr. Aviv has reported receiving thousands of threatening messages that focus on his Jewish heritage and Israeli nationality rather than his scientific methodology, demonstrating how astronomical controversies become conduits for expressing unrelated prejudices and political grievances. The anti-Semitic attacks directed at Loeb represent a particularly noxious example of how scientific discourse becomes corrupted by identity-based harassment. Online forums dedicated to discussions about 3IA Atlas frequently feature content alleging that Loeb's research is part of a Jewish conspiracy to manipulate scientific institutions or an Israeli intelligence operation intended to divert public attention from terrestrial political conflicts. The Jeffrey Epstein distraction theories constitute another category of politically motivated conspiracy that utilizes 3 Atlas as a prop for unrelated grievances. Social media posts claiming that NASA announced the discovery of 3 Atlas to divert attention from the release of Epstein's documents ignore the established timeline of astronomical observations and the international nature of the discovery process, yet they gain traction among audiences already predisposed to believe in government deception. The calculated manipulation of fabricated stories surrounding 3-2 Atlas demonstrates a refined grasp of how to exploit confirmation bias and pattern recognition within human psychology. Purveyors of these narratives routinely reshape historical occurrences, celestial observations, and cultural allusions to construct seemingly logical accounts that link this specific phenomenon to everything from ancient visits by extraterrestrials to current political intrigues. Dr. Renee Desta, a researcher at the Stanford Internet Observatory specializing in information warfare, has been meticulously documenting the dissemination of 3-2 Atlas-related fabrications across numerous online spaces. Her investigations revealed deliberate amplification patterns, suggesting that a portion of this manufactured content benefits from artificial promotion via bot networks and proxy accounts designed to simulate organic public interest in certain speculative ideas. The financial exploitation of the hysteria surrounding 3-2 Atlas has fostered entire industries centered on capitalizing on public apprehension regarding potential extraterrestrial contact. Online educational programs promising to equip individuals for interactions with alien beings, survival kits marketed for hypothetical encounters with non-terrestrial entities, and cryptocurrency ventures claiming to represent interstellar currency have collectively amassed millions of dollars from individuals gripped by fears stemming from conspiratorial interpretations of genuine astronomical events. The spiritual manipulation represents perhaps the most psychologically detrimental facet of the 3-2 Atlas conspiratorial milieu. Diverse religious and spiritual factions have integrated the object into their prophecies of doom, narratives of redemption, and theories of spiritual enlightenment, preying upon authentic human anxieties about our cosmic place while offering no substantive insight into the actual astronomical event. YouTube's recommendation engines have fostered insulated communities where conspiracy theories concerning 3-2 Atlas become increasingly detached from observable reality. Viewers engaging with videos detailing the object's unusual properties are subsequently shown progressively more sensationalized content alleging imminent alien invasions, clandestine government cover-ups, and existential threats to humanity, none of which align with verifiable scientific findings. The strategic deployment of scientific ambiguity surrounding 3-2 Atlas illustrates how networks distributing falsehoods exploit the natural progression of scientific inquiry to erode public faith in expertise and rational analysis by portraying legitimate scientific discourse as evidence of clandestine operations or professional inadequacy. Conspiracy advocates transform healthy scientific skepticism into unfounded, fearful rejection of evidence-based reasoning. International divergences in 3-2 Atlas conspiracy narratives reflect distinct cultural apprehensions and political landscapes, rather than differing interpretations of astronomical data. Chinese social media platforms host theories linking the object to American military space programs, while Russian outlets focus on NATO surveillance activities, demonstrating how astronomical discoveries become conduits for expressing geopolitical tensions. The velocity at which 3-2 Atlas conspiracy theories evolved and disseminated highlights the sophisticated infrastructure in place for the rapid distribution of disinformation narratives concerning emerging news items. Within mere hours of the object's discovery being announced, coordinated networks of social media accounts were actively promoting conspiratorial interpretations, suggesting a level of advanced preparation rather than a spontaneous reaction to novel information. The psychological profiling techniques employed by creators of conspiratorial content showcase a profound understanding of how to leverage cognitive biases and emotional triggers to maximize engagement with materials pertaining to 3-2 Atlas. Videos and posts are deliberately crafted to provoke fear, anger, and confirmation bias, while simultaneously presenting fabricated narratives as suppressed revelations that mainstream institutions seek to conceal. The economic motivations driving the creation of conspiracy content about 3-2 Atlas reveal how digital advertising frameworks and content monetization platforms inadvertently incentivize sensationalism over factual accuracy. Individuals producing dramatic conspiracy theories about the object can generate considerably more revenue than researchers striving to offer balanced scientific assessments, thereby creating market pressures that favor misinformation over educational outreach. The efforts to fact-check 3-2 Atlas conspiracy theories have largely proven insufficient due to the inherent technical complexity of astronomical observations and the formidable challenge of definitively refuting speculative claims concerning potential extraterrestrial technology. Conventional fact-checking methodologies, effective for verifiable political assertions, become inadequate when confronting scientific uncertainties and hypothetical scenarios. The mental health consequences of exposure to 3-2 Atlas conspiracies are becoming increasingly evident through crisis counseling services, which report escalating anxiety and paranoia among individuals who have encountered sensationalized conspiratorial content concerning the object. The psychological toll of believing in impending extraterrestrial threats can precipitate genuine mental health crises necessitating professional intervention. The educational system's failure to adequately equip individuals to evaluate complex scientific debates, such as those surrounding 3-2 Atlas, exposes fundamental deficiencies in media literacy and critical thinking instruction. The majority of people lack the foundational knowledge required to differentiate between credible scientific speculation and outright fantasy. When presented with technically worded assertions about astronomical observations, the cross-platform coordination of the 3-2 Atlas conspiracy narrative suggests organized endeavors to influence public perception of potential extraterrestrial contact, rather than the organic emergence of alternative theories. The uniformity of conspiratorial themes across disparate platforms and the swift adaptation of narratives in response to new scientific findings indicate sophisticated orchestration that surpasses the initiatives of individual content creators. The realization that should 3-2 Atlas indeed prove to be indicative of extraterrestrial technology, the ecosystem of conspiracy theories that has coalesced around it may have irrevocably compromised the public's capacity for rational processing of such revelations, potentially fostering conditions where confirmed extraterrestrial contact could precipitate widespread societal disruption. Irrespective of the actual intentions or characteristics of any extraterrestrial civilization, the implications of psychological warfare extend beyond individual harassment to systematic attempts to undermine scientific institutions and rational discourse. State-sponsored disinformation campaigns have been identified, promoting both extreme conspiracy theories and aggressive debunking efforts, suggesting that foreign intelligence services perceive 3-2 Atlas as an opportunity to destabilize Western scientific institutions and erode public trust in expert knowledge. The proliferation of deepfake and AI-generated content surrounding 3-2 Atlas signifies a new frontier in science-based disinformation. Advanced video manipulation tools are being employed to fabricate telescope imagery, manufacture staged expert interviews, and produce artificial documentary material that presents conspiracy theories with a level of production quality rivaling legitimate scientific presentations, making it increasingly arduous for general audiences to discern authentic from fabricated evidence. The mimetic warfare aspects of 3-2 Atlas conspiracy culture indicate their integration into broader cultural and political conflicts entirely unrelated to scientific observation. The object serves as a neutral canvas onto which various ideological movements project their existing grievances concerning governmental authority, scientific expertise, religious dogma, and societal change. The international coordination of 3-2 Atlas disinformation campaigns suggests concerted efforts to leverage scientific controversies for geopolitical advantage. Distinct conspiratorial narratives are being promoted in different nations, with content meticulously tailored to local cultural anxieties and political circumstances, indicative of centralized planning rather than organic conspiracy theory proliferation. The commercial exploitation has evolved into sophisticated fraudulent operations that exploit anxieties surrounding 3-2 Atlas to market an array of products, from survival gear to cryptocurrency investments to online courses promising privileged information about extraterrestrial contact. These schemes collectively represent millions of dollars in fraud, specifically targeting individuals made vulnerable by exposure to conspiratorial content concerning the object. The academic scrutiny of 3-2 Atlas conspiracy propagation has yielded novel insights into the mechanisms by which scientific misinformation spreads and mutates within digital environments. Researchers studying this phenomenon report that conspiracy narratives concerning the object evolve at a considerably faster pace than scientific understanding, thereby creating an informational landscape where fiction consistently surpasses factual accuracy in terms of public engagement and emotional resonance. The challenges faced by platform moderators concerning 3-2 Atlas content highlight the deficiencies of current content governance systems in addressing scientific misinformation that occupies the ambiguous space between legitimate speculation and harmful conspiracy theories. Automated moderation systems are incapable of distinguishing between genuine scientific discourse and malicious disinformation. Concurrently, human moderators often lack the requisite technical expertise to evaluate astronomical claims, and the legal ramifications of 3-2 Atlas harassment campaigns are beginning to manifest through lawsuits and criminal complaints filed by targeted researchers. The confluence of scientific debate, online harassment, and potential hate crimes presents unprecedented legal challenges that existing frameworks for cybercrime and academic freedom are inadequately equipped to manage effectively. The enduring cultural impact of 3-2 Atlas conspiracy theories could permanently alter societal approaches to potential extraterrestrial contact. By establishing pre-existing narrative frameworks that might impede rational evaluation of actual evidence should such contact occur. The conspiracy ecosystem effectively pre-corrupts public discourse concerning extraterrestrial phenomena, rendering objective analysis exceedingly difficult, even in the presence of definitive evidence. Chapter 9. Ancient Origins. The Galactic Wanderer. 7 billion years ago, at a time when our solar system was non-existent, and Earth was merely cosmic detritus dispersed throughout the Milky Way's spiral arms, 3-2 Atlas commenced its celestial journey. This object, within its ancient composition, carries a chronicle of cosmic conditions predating every familiar astronomical phenomenon, potentially rendering it the most ancient intact vestige of galactic history ever observed by humankind. The temporal implications are profound when considering the evolutionary trajectory of intelligence within our galaxy. 7 billion years ago, the Milky Way presented a vastly different panorama, characterized by elevated rates of star formation, more frequent supernova events, and stellar populations that had already undergone multiple cycles of nuclear processing. Any civilizations that emerged during this nascent galactic epoch would have had eons to develop technological capacities far beyond human comprehension. Dr. Chris Lent's research team at Oxford University has been employing the most advanced galactic evolution simulations available to model the potential origins of 3-2 Atlas. Their analyses suggest that the object originated from the Milky Way's thick disk, a stellar population that formed during the galaxy's early, tumultuous assembly phase, when intense star formation generated the heavy elements essential for the creation of rocky planets and complex chemistry. The thick disk represents a galactic environment entirely distinct from our present cosmic vicinity. Stars within this population coalesced from gas clouds enriched by preceding generations of massive stars, which led brief, violent existences before collapsing as supernovae. The radiative environment, chemical composition, and stellar dynamics of that era fostered conditions no longer extant within our contemporary galaxy. If 3-2 Atlas formed naturally during the thick disk epoch, it represents primordial material preserved in the frigid vacuum of interstellar space for billions of years, retaining chemical signatures from cosmic conditions that vanished long before our solar system began to form. This would position it as an unparalleled scientific treasure, a cosmic time capsule capable of revolutionizing our understanding of galactic chemical evolution and early stellar processes. However, the very fact of its preservation introduces its own enigmas. Material exposed to interstellar radiation for 7 billion years would be expected to exhibit extensive degradation from cosmic ray bombardment, chemical alteration, and structural disintegration. 3-2 Atlas, however, displays molecular and crystalline integrity that suggests either exceptionally robust natural preservation mechanisms or continuously operating artificial maintenance systems throughout its galactic odyssey. Trajectory analysis further substantiates the object's ancient origins. 3-2 Atlas's velocity and direction of approach are consistent with objects originating from thick disk stellar populations, traversing galactic orbits that have led them through multiple spiral arm transits and gravitational interactions with massive stellar structures that no longer exist in their original configurations. Dr. Jackie Faddy of the American Museum of Natural History has been studying the kinematics of thick disk objects in our galactic vicinity. Her research indicates that 3-2 Atlas's velocity profile aligns with theoretical predictions for objects gravitationally ejected from stellar systems during the galaxy's early, violent assembly period, when close stellar encounters and dynamic instabilities were far more prevalent than in our current galactic setting. Chemical evolution models provide additional support for the notion of ancient origins. The isotopic ratios detected within 3-2 Atlas's composition match theoretical predictions for material that formed when the galaxy's metallicity was considerably lower than current values, suggesting formation from gas clouds enriched by only the earliest generations of massive stars. If 3-2 Atlas has been traversing the galaxy for 7 billion years, it has potentially encountered stellar systems, planetary formations, and even biological evolutionary events that occurred long before Earth became habitable. The object could bear trace chemical signatures or embedded materials from dozens of stellar encounters throughout its cosmic sojourn. The implications for astrobiology are profound. 7 billion years constitutes ample time for biological evolution to have occurred multiple times across numerous stellar systems throughout the galaxy. Should 3-2 Atlas have originated from a system that developed life, or if it encountered biological material during its galactic wanderings, it might preserve organic signatures from life processes predating terrestrial biology by billions of years. The potential for advanced civilizations during that era is equally staggering. Any civilization emerging from the thick disk epoch would have had access to higher concentrations of heavy elements crucial for advanced technology, coupled with energy sources from more frequent supernovae and a denser stellar environment. Such civilizations would have possessed billions of years to develop capabilities that could manipulate matter, energy, and spacetime in ways that human science has yet to conceptualize. This deep temporal perspective fundamentally alters how we should interpret 3-2 Atlas's anomalous characteristics. Behaviors that appear impossible for natural objects might represent technologies developed by civilizations that had eons to resolve scientific and engineering challenges yet to be encountered by human civilization. Radio astronomy observations have detected exceedingly faint, long-wavelength emissions emanating from 3-2 Atlas, which could signify ancient communication systems operating on timescales measured in geological epochs. The characteristics of these signals suggest transmission methods designed for continuous operation over billions of years, potentially conveying information across galactic distances using techniques undetectable or undecipherable by human technology. The implications for stellar archaeology suggest that 3-2 Atlas could offer direct observational evidence of stellar systems and galactic conditions that existed during the early Milky Way but are no longer accessible through conventional astronomical observation. The object represents a mobile museum of ancient galactic history, carrying within its structure chemical and physical records capable of revolutionizing our understanding of galactic evolution over cosmic time. The possibilities for gravitational archaeology are equally compelling. If 3-2 Atlas has been in transit for billions of years, it has experienced gravitational interactions with stellar systems, massive black holes, and galactic structures that have since transformed beyond recognition. The object's internal structure might preserve gravitational signatures that could illuminate the historical distribution of dark matter and the evolution of galactic mass distribution over cosmic time. Calculations regarding survival probability raise further questions about the true nature of 3-2 Atlas. Natural objects traversing the galaxy for 7 billion years would have extremely low survival probabilities due to collisions with interstellar material, gravitational disruption from stellar encounters, and gradual degradation from cosmic radiation exposure. The fact that 3-2 Atlas remains intact suggests either extraordinary serendipity or the presence of artificial protective systems. Galactic dynamics modeling indicates that objects with 3-2 Atlas's orbital characteristics should have been dispersed from the galactic disk or captured by massive stellar objects millions of years ago. Its continued existence on a trajectory that brings it into proximity with contemporary stellar systems suggests either recent gravitational perturbation or active trajectory management that has preserved its galactic orbit over cosmic timescales. A comparative analysis with other ancient objects in our galactic neighborhood reveals that 3-2 Atlas exhibits unique characteristics among known thick disk remnants. While other ancient objects display the expected signs of cosmic weathering and structural decay, 3-2 Atlas maintains an integrity that points towards either unusual formation processes or artificial preservation mechanisms. The temporal synchronicity between 3-2 Atlas's galactic journey and the emergence of intelligence in our solar system provides further grounds for speculation. The object's arrival during the precise historical period when human civilization began developing space observation capabilities could be interpreted as evidence that its journey has been guided by an intelligence capable of operating on galactic timescales. The philosophical implications extend beyond astronomy to fundamental questions concerning the nature and prevalence of intelligence in the universe. If civilizations capable of 7 billion years of technological development have existed in our galaxy, then human intelligence represents either an exceptionally late emergence of consciousness or one among many intelligence experiments that have occurred throughout galactic history. It is perhaps most humbling to confront the understanding that the object designated as 3I Atlas, whether a natural cosmic occurrence or an artificial construct, embodies universal processes and potentially advanced technological capacities operating on timescales so immense that our entire human civilization appears as a fleeting spark against the backdrop of galactic history. This realization compels us to consider the profound possibility that our species is neither singular nor especially significant from the vantage point of truly ancient cosmic entities. The archaeological implications suggested by 3I Atlas's immense journey hint at its capacity to contain embedded chronicles of star systems, planetary formations, and possibly even biological phenomena that transpired throughout its 7-billion-year odyssey. Sophisticated material analysis techniques might allow us to retrieve microscopic samples, preserving chemical imprints from countless stellar interactions, thereby establishing the inaugural direct observational record of galactic evolution across cosmic epochs. The preservation mechanisms necessary to maintain structural integrity over such vast durations would inevitably involve physical processes or technologies far beyond our present comprehension of material science. While the vacuum of space inherently offers some degree of structural preservation, the molecular intricacy and geometric precision observed in 3I Atlas point towards either exotic physics at play or active maintenance systems that have operated continuously for geological eons. The energy demands of a 7-billion-year mission, whether natural or artificial, introduce further enigmas regarding the object's fundamental nature. If 3I Atlas represents technology, the power sources required to sustain its operation over such extended periods would necessitate energy manipulation capabilities capable of harnessing stellar radiation, cosmic ray bombardment, or perhaps entirely unknown energy sources beyond current human scientific grasp. The implications for information storage are equally astonishing. Any artificial system engineered for a 7-billion-year lifespan would need to retain vast quantities of operational data, navigational details, and potentially scientific observations spanning multiple cycles of galactic evolution. The data compression and storage technologies essential for such feats would represent leaps in information science far exceeding contemporary human imagination. The navigational requirements for objects maintaining coherent trajectories over billion-year timelines would demand computational prowess capable of predicting and counteracting stellar evolution, galactic rotation, the dynamics of spiral arms, and gravitational influences from evolving dark matter structures. Such navigational systems would essentially necessitate real-time modeling of galactic dynamics across geological timescales. Encounter probability analyses indicate that during its 7-billion-year journey, 3I Atlas would have traversed within detection range of millions of star systems, potentially including hundreds with planetary formations and possibly dozens that developed life. This object effectively represents a galactic survey mission encompassing the entire span of complex life's evolution within our galaxy. The comparative longevity assessment suggests that 3I Atlas has potentially existed for longer than any civilization ever to have emerged in our galactic sector, making it a silent witness to the ascendancy and decline of countless technological species throughout cosmic history. If artificial, it would signify a technological continuity that surpasses the evolutionary timescales of its creators. The radical shift in cosmic perspective necessitated by 3I Atlas's ancient origins compels us to acknowledge that human civilization exists within a temporal and spatial context that dwarfs our comprehension, potentially observed by intelligences operating on scales that render our entire species' existence a momentary flicker in the grand tapestry of galactic evolution and cosmic time. Chapter 10. The Cosmic Perspective, the Silent Galaxy. We stand on the precipice of a transformative shift in human understanding, comparable to the moment Galileo turned his telescope towards Jupiter's moons and dispelled the notion of Earth as the universe's center. 3i Atlas has compelled us to confront questions that extend far beyond astronomy, probing the very essence of intelligence, survival, and humanity's position within a cosmos that may prove far more perilous than we ever conceived. The ramifications ripple outwards, reshaping everything from our pursuit of extraterrestrial intelligence to our strategies for space exploration, from our comprehension of cosmic evolution to our assessment of the existential threats confronting humankind. Whether 3i Atlas is ultimately determined to be natural or artificial, its presence has irrevocably altered our perception of our species' future amongst the stars. If Avi's dark forest hypothesis holds true, then the profound silence that has long puzzled SETI researchers is not an indicator of cosmic solitude, but of cosmic dread. The galaxy may indeed be teeming with advanced civilizations that remain concealed, understanding that self-disclosure invites annihilation. In this context, our century of radio transmissions, our deliberate attempts to signal our existence through projects like the Arecibo message, and our plans for increasingly potent transmission arrays could be construed as acts of species-level self-destruction. The psychological impact of this dawning realization transcends academic astronomy, delving into fundamental inquiries about human nature and our connection to the universe. We are a species fundamentally driven by exploration, communication, and expansion beyond our origins. The dark forest paradigm suggests that these very characteristics, our greatest strengths as intelligent beings, might paradoxically be the traits that seal our doom at the hands of more cautious galactic inhabitants. Dr. Seth Shostak of the SETI Institute has been grappling with these implications since the discovery of 3i Atlas. He acknowledges in private correspondence with colleagues that if the galaxy operates under dark forest principles, then SETI research, as we have conducted it for 70 years, has been not only fruitless but actively hazardous. He posits that we have been essentially teaching humanity to shout into a forest potentially populated by predators. The military implications are already beginning to reshape defense planning at the highest governmental echelons. Space Force doctrine is undergoing revision to account for threats that might approach at interstellar velocities, bearing technology refined over millions of years of development. Traditional paradigms of deterrence, defense, and even diplomacy become rendered moot when confronting civilizations possessing the ability to manipulate fundamental forces or redirect stellar energy. Technological assessments reveal humanity's complete vulnerability to any civilization capable of interstellar transit. Our most advanced propulsion concepts could theoretically reach nearby star systems over centuries or millennia. Any civilization capable of practical interstellar reconnaissance would possess energy manipulation and propulsion technologies that would appear miraculous from our current vantage point. Existing human space defense capabilities are calibrated for threats posed by other humans employing human technology. Missile defense systems, military satellites, and even nuclear arsenals become irrelevant against entities that could potentially redirect asteroids, manipulate solar radiation, or deploy technologies operating on principles yet undiscovered by our science. The temporal pressures introduce additional strategic vulnerabilities. Human planning operates on scales of years, whereas interstellar travel might implement strategies unfolding over centuries or millennia, rendering human response capabilities inadequate even with advanced threat detection. The communication paradox becomes central to humanity's survival strategy. If the galaxy operates under dark forest principles, then any overt attempt to communicate with potential extraterrestrial civilizations could be interpreted as a hostile intent, necessitating preemptive elimination. Conversely, remaining silent while developing space technology might still provoke defensive measures from civilizations that perceive technological advancement as an inherent threat. The expansion dilemma presents similarly intractable choices. Human survival might ultimately hinge on becoming a multi-planetary species capable of enduring localized catastrophes. Yet, the very act of expanding beyond Earth, developing interstellar capabilities, and establishing space-based infrastructure could be precisely the behaviors that trigger elimination under forest assumptions. Dr. Nick Bostrom's research on existential risk has been fundamentally altered by the implications of 3i Atlas. He explains that our focus has been on risks from artificial intelligence, climate change, and nuclear weapons, without adequately considering the possibility that the universe itself might be structured in ways that render advanced technological civilizations inherently unsustainable due to competitive pressures between species. The resolution to the Fermi paradox offered by the dark forest hypothesis provides a chillingly logical explanation for the pervasive silence we observe across our galactic neighborhood. The absence of detectable alien civilizations might not signify the rarity of intelligence, but rather that successful intelligence is inherently silent intelligence, and any species that reveals itself is eliminated before it can be detected by newcomers like humanity. The implications for observation strategy suggest that humanity's research should shift fundamentally from active transmission to passive listening and concealment. Instead of announcing our presence to the galaxy, we should focus on developing technologies for remaining undetectable while simultaneously gathering intelligence on potential threats or allies within our cosmic vicinity. The social and psychological preparation for the potential confirmation of dark forest scenarios presents challenges for which human institutions are ill-equipped. How does one prepare 7 billion people for the possibility that the universe is structured as a cosmic killing field where survival depends on remaining silent and hidden? How can social cohesion and technological progress be maintained while acknowledging that advancement itself might trigger species elimination? The religious and philosophical implications challenge fundamental assumptions about the nature of cosmic purpose and intelligent life. Many spiritual traditions posit that consciousness and intelligence represent positive cosmic developments, steps towards higher understanding and universal harmony. The dark forest scenario suggests that intelligence might be inherently destructive, fostering competitive pressures that preclude peaceful coexistence among advanced civilizations. The educational transformation required to prepare humanity for dark forest realities would necessitate fundamental alterations in how we teach science, technology, and the purpose of humanity. Current educational systems presume that technological advancement and space exploration represent unambiguous boons for human development. Awareness of the dark forest paradigm demands preparation for the possibility that our greatest achievements might also represent our gravest vulnerabilities. The imperative for international cooperation becomes paramount for species survival. Dark forest scenarios render national competition and resource conflicts trivial in comparison to potential extinction threats posed by extraterrestrial civilizations. Humanity's survival may depend on achieving levels of global cooperation unprecedented in human history, pooling resources and intellect to develop collective defense and concealment strategies. Technological development pathways must be re-evaluated in light of potential dark forest dynamics. Current space technology development prioritizes capability advancement and exploration efficiency. Dark forest awareness suggests that stealth, concealment, and passive observation should take precedence over range, speed, and transmission power in the development of space technologies. The temporal pressure introduced by 3I Atlas's reemergence in December injects urgency into these cosmic strategic considerations. If the object exhibits artificial characteristics upon its reappearance, humanity will face confirmed intelligence with implications that could reshape civilization within months or years, rather than the gradual adjustment periods typically associated with major scientific discoveries. The December 2025 observations represent more than mere astronomical measurements. They constitute a species-level intelligence test. How humanity responds to the potential confirmation of extraterrestrial surveillance will determine our capacity for the rapid strategic adaptation necessary for survival in a universe potentially far more dangerous than our optimistic assumptions suggested. The profound loneliness inherent in the dark forest scenario extends beyond the absence of benevolent cosmic neighbors to the chilling realization that intelligence itself might be a cosmic malediction, dooming any species that develops it to either annihilation by competitors or eternal concealment from potential threats. In this universe, the price of survival may be the abandonment of the very characteristics that define us as human. It is possible that 3I Atlas represents not a first contact, but a final contact, the last reconnaissance before annihilation, the concluding observation before entities that have survived in the cosmic darkness for billions of years decide that humanity has developed sufficient capabilities to pose a threat requiring a permanent solution. Yet, even within the most somber interpretations of 3I Atlas's implications, human choice remains paramount. We can determine our response to potential intelligence, balancing caution with curiosity and concealment with growth. The object has bestowed upon us the greatest possible gift, an advanced warning of cosmic realities that most species might only comprehend when elimination becomes inevitable. The universe revealed by 3I Atlas might be hostile, but it is not devoid of hope. Knowledge of cosmic dangers opens pathways to cosmic survival strategies that could extend human civilization far beyond what naive cosmic optimism would allow. The silent galaxy may serve as our warning, but it could also become our instructor, demonstrating how intelligence endures in a universe where only the hidden can survive. The adaptation strategies emerging from dark forest awareness necessitate unprecedented coordination among scientific, military, and political institutions globally. Survival in a perilous galaxy demands capabilities that no single nation or organization can develop in isolation, compelling humanity towards levels of cooperation that transcend traditional competitive frameworks and national sovereignty concerns. Technological priorities shift dramatically under dark forest assumptions. Rather than developing increasingly powerful transmission capabilities and conspicuous space infrastructure, human survival may depend on perfecting concealment technologies, passive observation systems, and distributed backup civilizations capable of enduring localized elimination attempts while remaining undetectable to potential threats. The ethical implications challenge fundamental assumptions about human expansion and cosmic responsibility. If the universe operates under dark forest principles, then human space exploration and technological development could pose threats to existing, hidden civilizations, forcing us to consider whether our survival rights justify potential harm to cosmic neighbors who have successfully remained concealed for millions or billions of years. The detection capabilities required for cosmic survival extend far beyond current astronomical instrumentation, necessitating comprehensive monitoring systems capable of identifying artificial objects designed to mimic natural phenomena, concealed civilizations attempting to remain hidden, and subtle environmental modifications that might indicate the presence of advanced technology in nearby star systems. The philosophical transformation demanded by dark forest realities requires abandoning anthropocentric assumptions about cosmic purpose and intelligent development. Human consciousness and technological prowess might represent not cosmic achievements, but cosmic hazards, evolutionary developments that attract elimination rather than cooperation from more successful galactic intelligences. Generational preparation becomes critical for long-term human survival in dark forest scenarios. Current human leadership operates under assumptions of cosmic isolation and benevolent space exploration that may prove catastrophically naive. Future generations must be educated for survival in a universe where expansion carries existential risks requiring careful management over centuries or millennia. Hope persists that 3I Atlas, whether natural or artificial, represents an opportunity rather than a threat. If the object proves artificial and exhibits non-hostile characteristics, it could provide the first evidence that successful galactic civilizations can coexist, suggesting that the dark forest scenario represents but one possible cosmic configuration rather than an inevitable consequence of intelligence and technology. The December test approaches, bearing the weight of species-level questions that will fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos. 3I Atlas has already transformed us from cosmic optimists into cosmic realists, compelling recognition that the universe may be structured in ways that make survival, rather than expansion, the primary challenge facing any technological civilization. The final realization emerges from months of analysis, debate, and cosmic contemplation triggered by this enigmatic visitor from interstellar space. Whether 3I Atlas is a natural phenomenon or an artificial intelligence, its presence has compelled humanity to mature rapidly, transitioning from a species assuming cosmic isolation to one that must prepare for cosmic engagement under conditions that could determine our survival or elimination. Ultimately, 3I Atlas's greatest gift to humanity may not be the scientific knowledge it imparts or the technological capabilities it might represent, but the cosmic wisdom it has forced us to cultivate. The recognition that intelligence itself carries responsibilities and risks extending far beyond our home planet into the vast, dark, and potentially perilous galaxy that surrounds us.